of fine swimming pools.
Hey, David again with Royal Pest Services. TAP Insulation stands for thermal, acoustic, and pest control. Keep your home cool, noise out, and pests dead. Visit RoyalPestServices.com to schedule a free inspection.
I'm RJ Saunders with your Southeast Orthopedic Specialist local sports update for 1010XL. This update brought to you by the Greater Jacksonville Kingfish Tournament. Florida two-way star Jack Caglione did not wait long to have his name called on MLB draft night, tying as the fourth highest player taken in team history as the Kansas City Royals selected him with the 6th overall pick of the first round on Sunday evening. Caglione becomes the 20th first-round pick all-time out of Florida and 14th since head coach Kevin O'Sullivan's 2008 arrival. The Atlantic Sun Conference announced its 2024-2025 men's basketball schedule on Friday, marking the 47th season of league competition. Austin Peay, fresh off an appearance in the championship final, hits the road for a Week 1 matchup against North Florida, and Jacksonville will welcome Lipscomb to the River City. 90 degrees at 11:57. Time and temp brought to you by Bueller Air Conditioning. Stay cooler with Bueller.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, get ready to spend the next 2 hours with our 3 sports-loving ladies. Mia O'Brien, Lauren Brooks, and Taylor Dahl. Hey!
This is Helmets and Heels
on 1010XL, switched on by First Coast Lighting and Fans. Upscale lighting, fans, and home decor.
Show me what you got, bird lady.
Gang is all back together. Thanks for holding down the fort on Friday as I was gallivanting off into the Gulf of Mexico to look for some scallops, and I figured out that both of y'all were out of town as well.
Yeah, it was a vacation-filled weekend for the Helmets and Heels crew, but we still stayed abreast of the very latest, whether that's the MLB draft or all of the headlines coming out of SEC Media Days this morning. So ready to rumble on this fine Monday.
I love it. Did you have fun, by the way, Lauren?
We had a great
I know that's
time,
like one of your favorite times of year.
It is. We had great weather and plentiful scallops, and so Friday night we did grill on the grill. Well, it was really a Blackstone, but call that a grill. Scallops on the half shell, and then Saturday night we had my favorite way is scallops in angel hair pasta, like pastaroni, and add mushrooms. Oh my gosh, so good. So yes, we had a fantastic time, and I love, like you said, I love going over there to Steenhatchee. We've been to Keaton Beach, we've been to Steenhatchee, Deckle, Dark Island, like any place that there's a place to scallop, we will go. Yeah, you went to Palm Coast?
I did. Yeah, I went to go visit some friends. They opened a bar restaurant recently, so I've been trying to get down there for about a month. That hasn't really worked out. So this weekend, figured we'd make a little trip. It's an easy trip, which is nice. Maybe an hour just to get there. And the place they bought is like 2 blocks from the ocean, so it's really nice. You can see the water from their bar restaurant, and it was so much fun. It was like a little vacation, but still you're not spending too much time in the travel part, which is always nice.
Yeah, that part is nice. Ours was like 2.5 hours over to the Gulf, and yeah, we got so many scallops on Saturday that we ended up being able to share with some other people, so that's always nice, and we were able to bring some home, which is also nice. And you went to North Carolina.
Oh, well, I went to North Carolina and about 5 other states too, Lauren. It was quite the journey. So if you can believe it, in 6 years of living down here, and of course 3 years previous to that living in the wonderful state of Iowa, I, outside of last summer's notorious road trip at the 11th hour to get to my good friend Hannah's wedding, have never actually driven cross country. And we have some stuff that was up in storage from Kevin's childhood home, and we had to get it back down here. And they're closing out the storage unit at the end of the month. And so the only weekend that we had free to fly up to Maryland and then drive back was this weekend. And mind you, I get on a plane in about 8 hours to head to SEC Media Days as well. So doing great. Thanks for asking, everyone. No, it's an honor and a privilege as always. But yeah, we flew up Friday night. I apologize to my family and friends that are listening that are upset that I didn't tell anybody. We literally landed at 10 o'clock, left at 1 o'clock the next day, p.m. So that's like 15 hours that we were boots on the ground in Maryland. it's a 12-hour drive, decided to break it up because neither of us had ever been to Chapel Hill or Durham, seeing either campus. And so got to do that. I had never seen North Carolina outside of Charlotte. And so it was a nice little weekend trip, even with 7.5 hours of driving yesterday and then unloading a U-Haul and bringing it back this morning. But
those campuses are beautiful.
Yeah, I'd never been. And
I went when I was 12.
I wrote in my 5th grade yearbook that I wanted to go to UNC. And so at long last, after also being waitlisted once upon a time, but then I was like, that's all right. Moving on, going to Ithaca. I finally got to see it in person. I finally got to see Duke in person. I got to see Cameron Indoor. I got to see the Dean Dome. I'm not going to lie, ladies. Both, while certainly the history is there and neither museum was open while we were there just because of the weird hours that we were traveling, both are so unassuming in that you just stumble upon them, for lack of a better term. And the same goes for Kenan Stadium. The same goes for Duke's football facility, in addition to their amazing football practice facility, which is state-of-the-art. It's right next to the stadium, which, again, is just kind of built into the stadium, into the campus, excuse me. You wouldn't even know they're there. Like, you just stumble upon them, and you're like, oh, like, that's a school.
There it is.
That's a school building, and there's the Dean Dome.
Yeah.
And I honestly, and this is someone who has rooted for North Carolina at different points in my life, like, the Dean Dome, for me, it wasn't this, like, massive, like, beautiful structure that was state-of-the-art. I kept saying it. You wouldn't even realize that this is the arena that so many iconic moments in college basketball have occurred in, because it just looks like a giant cement cylinder. Like, that's all it is. And yet that's the place.
Yeah,
That's where
that's
the room where it happens.
Yeah.
My takeaway from when we went to both Duke and UNC, like I said, when I was 12, because I was thinking about maybe going out of state for college, but so glad I did not do that and have all that student loan debt at this point. But I loved the brick in Chapel Hill more than I liked the
Gothic.
The Gothic architecture. So either way, like you said, lots of college basketball there. All right, so let's get it to football, both college and NFL. Our poll question today: who is under more pressure, Carson Beck or Trevor Lawrence, the Georgia quarterback or the Jaguars quarterback? Taylor, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I think this is honestly a really good question, and I think you could argue both sides pretty easily. Because even myself, I was arguing with which one am I going with. And so when you start going through of why one would have, more pressure, and I think that for Carson Beck, obviously, he's looking at one of the top, if not the top candidate for a Heisman, just how Georgia has been the last few seasons, and they're kind of expecting now another championship because that's the world they live in this moment. And so that already puts pretty high expectations on a quarterback. And I think obviously him probably coming out also and entering the draft next year, where does he land in that? So there's a lot of things that fall into Carson Beck and what the season means for him and how he plays. But I do think just because of, I think the contract for me puts Trevor Lawrence ahead, just because I think you just get paid. There's a lot of people arguing if you even deserve that money that you just got paid. And so not only is the money now behind you, but a division that's just getting better. You had the 2 seasons ago that everybody was like, okay, they're here, they've arrived, like it's only up from here. And then you kind of have that late season collapse and people are saying, okay, which Jaguars team are they? Which Trevor Lawrence are we going to see? And so I think for Trevor, just because more so, not because the expectations are crazy high, because I'm not sure everyone has the highest expectations of what Jacksonville can be, but they have had that of Trevor Lawrence and they're waiting to see it. So I think for just a personal part, and when you look at just him by himself and maybe not the whole team as a whole, Trevor Lawrence, because of that money, to me does lean a little bit more towards people expecting more from him.
And
who's under more pressure?
We are accepting your thoughts on this question of the day, not only on X, but also on the text line designed by Lifetime Enclosures. Several of the Heeligans couldn't wait. I think you said the question, Lauren, and they started lighting it up already, because this is a hot button topic, given obviously the nature of Trevor Lawrence being the quarterback here for the Jacksonville Jaguars, but also Carson Beck, of course, being from this neck of the woods. For me, it has to be Trevor Lawrence, despite the fact that MyBookie has him with the 14th best odds to win MVP. Carson Beck with the best outright odds to win the Heisman Trophy. One would think that looking at those odds, which of course you could visit mybookie.ag for more, one would think that would say, well, obviously Carson's got a target on his back. Everybody's gunning for him. He's that guy that everybody believes will be at the mountaintop by season's end. But I think that it's funny, because I was thinking about it and I was like, well, like if, let's say, Georgia doesn't win a national title, but they still win 11 or 12 games, or 10 or 11 games, right? We talk about Ohio State and Michigan. and how for Ohio State the last 3 years have been a failure solely because
They didn't beat Michigan.
2 years ago, they made the playoff, and C.J. Stroud and company went toe-to-toe with eventual champion Georgia. But that season was deemed a failure largely because they lost to Michigan.
Yeah.
And so that's where I think it's so fascinating because as much as, yes, the money and the pressure and the need to have postseason success, that pressure definitely lies in the Trevor camp. Don't get it twisted. If Georgia doesn't make the playoff, if Georgia isn't in, at the very least, the Final Four, if you may, or the national championship, there's going to be people trying to pluck holes in Carson Beck, akin to what we saw with Kyle McCord at Ohio State this time a year ago. They would try to blame the quarterback as opposed to the entire operation. And so
I think both Trevor Lawrence and Carson Beck, if either of them don't make the playoff this season, both are going to be talked about in that realm.
And it'll be their fault.
Yeah.
It won't be the team's fault. It will be their fault. So to the Heeligan who noted that Carson has less pressure because he has a heralded defense, don't get it twisted. If Georgia doesn't make the playoff, if Georgia doesn't win a national title, it will be Carson Beck that is blamed, not the defense.
Yeah, for me, the answer is Carson Beck because of all of the things that you laid out as far as the Heisman, and the expectations are different for Georgia than they are for the Jaguars. I don't think anyone is expecting the Jaguars to win the Super Bowl this season. They are absolutely 100% expecting in Athens and for Georgia fans across the country to win the national championship. That is the only acceptable result for Georgia fans. It's not just make the college football playoff and be one of the 12-team standings like it would be for Florida State, for basically any other team other than maybe Alabama. And that's even now a different conversation with Kalen DeBoer. By the way, for SEC Media Days, don't forget your credential because Nick Saban this morning had to go back to his hotel room.
I was like, my credential's waiting for me in Dallas, Lauren. I hope I didn't leave it at my house.
Yeah, don't leave it in your hotel room because if they're going to send
didn't know who
Nick
Nick
Saban
Saban
back, and they made him go back and get it, they will absolutely do that for everyone else. But yeah, to me, it's Carson Beck because of the pressure surrounding this team. They thought they should have won the whole thing last year, and they messed up in the SEC championship game and losing to Alabama. And so I think the entire fan base is not going to be happy unless they win the entire thing. And they know that this is their final year, like you said, Taylor, with Carson Beck. And he is one of the best quarterbacks in all of college football. Trevor Lawrence, we can have the conversation, and we do it all the time. Exactly where does he fall, as far as NFL quarterbacks? Some of us would have him maybe top 10. Other people would have him. ESPN and the scouts, coaches, and executives had him around 16. Last year at 8. So somewhere in the top 20. But Carson Beck is certainly thought of as, if not the best, one of the best.
Yeah, and I think that, and that's why I said we could go either way, because it's also that pressure and the realistic aspect of the pressure too, because I do think expectations are lower for a lot of Jaguar. Like, they're not saying, like you said, it's not like Super Bowl or bust for Trevor Lawrence, but it is pressure to, at the end of the season, people don't want to keep having these questions. Is Trevor Lawrence your franchise quarterback? Like, you don't want to have that at the end of the season. And if he doesn't improve, if it ends the way it did last season with numbers that it did last season, if he's still turning over the ball, there are going to be a high percentage of people that are like, I don't know. Like, I don't know if we have a guy that is a top 10 or even a top 11, 12 quarterback. And you're not going to win a lot of games consistently in the NFL if you don't have that top half.
Well, let's look at it this way, Taylor, building off of that. In which situation will heads roll if they do not reach expectations? I think the Jaguars' expectation is making the postseason. If they don't make the postseason, if Trevor Lawrence is still plagued by fumble issues and turnover trouble, will Doug Peterson be on the hot seat? Will Trent Baalke be on the hot seat? Will Trevor be on the hot seat?
Yeah, Kirby's never on the hot seat.
Yeah.
Kirby will not be on the hot seat, and I don't think
he could be 90 years old and he'll still be the head coach.
As far as Carson goes, he's a fifth-year senior. The expectation is he's going to the National Football League one way or another when this season comes to a close. Look, he does still have a COVID year, technically, right? I'm correct in saying that because he got to college in January of 2020. So in theory, if it was to spiral and go downhill, he could transfer elsewhere. But it's not like Kirby would be in such a dire situation suddenly that he would be fired by Georgia. That's not happening.
No, it's not happening. But there's also the quarterback rooms you have to analyze, too. Trevor Lawrence is not going to be benched because he got the contract. Mac Jones is only going to play here if there's a situation, where Trevor gets injured. That 100% is going to happen. If Carson Beck doesn't play well, Kirby Smart has no allegiance necessarily to Beck, even though, yes, he could have transferred and left. But he's going to immediately go, well, I've got another 5-star waiting in the wings in Gunnar Henderson. I'm going to do the best thing for my football team in order to win. I don't think we'd ever see Doug do that. So that's another angle to me because Trevor got the money. Yes, there's pressure on him to play well, but he also knows his job is secure for the next 7 years.
Yeah. Which quarterback or which fan base do you think would be the most upset if the stats repeated? Because Carson Beck only had 24 touchdowns last season. And when you're looking at quarterbacks around college football, usually it's a little higher than that when you're honestly, like usually in the 40s when you're talking about
the Heisman winner.
The Heisman
well,
winner.
because Georgia runs the football so well,
a ton.
Well, Georgia runs the football a ton, and I would say both quarterbacks had, I don't want to say the excuse, but they had the asterisk of the offensive coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
In the case of Carson, Mike Bobo returns to Athens, and it was a slow start. It was a gradual build. He wasn't really allowed to throw the ball downfield to begin the season.
Yeah.
Versus, as has been well documented in this town, Press Taylor, more of a hands-on role with the offense last season, whether as the play caller and also in creating the scheme and the system and the framework itself. And so that's where, to that point,
Yeah.
I think
if
that's
Carson
another
this
part of this.
season has 24-7 and Trevor has 22-10, which fan base is more upset with those numbers?
The Jags fans.
Yeah,
because,
I think so too.
Because in college football, now they will have the extra game because of the 12-team playoff, although Georgia will probably have the bye. But I don't think stats are something that college football fans lock into for quarterbacks as much as NFL fans do. I mean, you can ask, most NFL fans, what were your quarterback stats last year, and they can spit them out. In college football, I feel like it's a little bit different because they look at different things. Certainly the offensive line, in Athens is one of the best in all of the country.
Yeah.
So you should be able to run the football well. Here, obviously, we, like you said, well documented, the offensive line not so good. And so, yeah, that certainly changes things. All right, we will keep this conversation going, and we'll get your feedback as well. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on a Big Chief Tire Monday, 5 locations around town, and they will get you ready for your road trips this summer and family adventures. Visit them at bigchieftire.com. We'll be back on Tension XL 92.5 FM.
It's a Big Chief Tire Monday, the local Jacksonville shop for fair prices and service you can trust.
Want more Jag? Subscribe to the 1010XL Jaguars YouTube channel. Looking for more in-depth coverage of the Gators? Subscribe to the 1010XL Gators YouTube channel. Need your FSU fix? Well, subscribe to the 1010XL Seminoles YouTube channel. Your favorite team, one specific location.
Mia here, and we've all been there before. A weekend trip to the casino? Canceled because real life came calling. MyBookie's new and improved online casino is here to change the game. Dive into a truly realistic casino experience featuring the latest in slots, progressive jackpots, and live dealer action, all from the comfort of your own home. The live casino is so easy to use. Just go to MyBookie and click Live Casino at the top. You'll find live dealers ready to deal or spin just like you're at the casino. The MyBookie Casino provides a Las Vegas experience when the action's in the palm of your hands and you don't even need to wear pants. Start at MyBookie today with a generous sign-up bonus using promo code 1010XL. A revamped loyalty program ensures a host of exclusive VIP perks. Sign up and hit the casino with promo code 1010XL. The more you play, the more you win, only with MyBookie.
Right now, you may be running a little late, or feeling stressed, or overwhelmed, and you may be going a bit over the speed limit. So to help you relax, exhale. Ease up on the gas. You'll get there when you get there. Take a moment to just chill. This little break is brought to you by Target Zero and the Florida Department of Transportation.
Have you or someone you care about been arrested or had their driver's license taken away? I'm Susan Cohen, and I work with David Robbins at the law firm of Epstein & Robbins. We are experienced fighters for those charged with DUI and all criminal offenses. I've been named the best DUI attorney in the state, and David has been named the best criminal defense lawyer in Jacksonville. In your battle with the justice system, there is only one thing you need to know. Dial David 24/7 at Epstein & Robbins, 354-5645.
Joe C. for CSS Fireplaces and Outdoor Living. And if your dream is to create that space where you're living large in your backyard, then you need to get with the good people at CSS. They put a gas log in our fireplace, an awesome fire pit out back where the kids can toast s'mores and we can just hang out and watch the game. It's all part of your outdoor living experience with CSS Fireplaces and Outdoor Living.
You dream it, we build it. CSS.
If you're an experienced, skilled plumber or welder that's MedGas certified and you're tired of working for a company that just doesn't treat you right, Local 234 is the place for you. Their pay is the best in the business. You'll walk away with $35.09 an hour in your pocket. With benefits, that's just over $50 an hour. Local 234 has been around since 1901, and that means something. Visit UA234.com to send your resume. Local 234. Make the right connection.
College football is finally here.
Yes.
SEC Football Media Days. Catch interviews with coaches and players.
We need change. I think everybody knows that.
If you miss one, you can hear it on demand at 1010XL.com. Brought to you by Instant Keys.
If you're a veteran, listen up. Did you know that you can access up to 100% of your home's equity right now? Hey, Prosser here. You can do it with Loan Pronto's VA Equity Advantage program. You can get 30, 50, 100 grand or more and use that money to pay off all those credit cards, personal loans, car loans, or maybe use the cash to do that home improvement project. Veterans love working with Loan Pronto because they make it easy. No junk fees, no hassle. They can unlock that cash in your home's equity in a matter of weeks. Don't keep paying insane rates on credit cards. There's a smarter alternative with Loan Pronto. Get more info and start the process now at loanpronto.com. Or if your current VA loan rate is over 6.5%, Loan Pronto can get you in a streamlined refinance with a lower rate right now with no income verification and no appraisal. Lower your monthly payment big time. Loan Pronto makes it so easy for veterans. So call now, 904-999-1508. That's 904-999-1508. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
Baloo here for Smunez Vision. Why Smunez Vision? Well, I've been with Dr. Neil Smunez now since I got back to Jacksonville in 2006. 37 years of experience he has. Smunez Vision is a family organization that focuses on personal high-quality medical and surgical eye care. Dr. Catherine Smunez is fellowship trained in cornea and cataract surgery and all refractive surgery. Combined, that's 30 years plus in laser eye surgery. Visit SmunezVision.com today. Here you can see.
Don't make a bad call when it comes to servicing your home. Cooling off with a baby pool in the house to fix your air conditioning problem is a bad call. Trying to catch a wave in a flooded bathroom is a bad call. Using a burning electrical panel to make s'mores is a bad call. The next time something goes wrong, make a good call to Donovan.
Whether you need air, electric, or plumbing service, Donovan is always a good call. It's why we've been trusted by our customers for almost 40 years and why you can trust us to deliver fast, reliable service to your home. Donovan, always a good call.
Visit DonovanAC.com today.
1010XL is presented by Farrah & Farrah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Mia O'Brien, Taylor Dahl, RJ Saunders, I'm Lauren Brooks with you.
How was your weekend?
Nathan on Twitter responding to our question today, who is under more pressure, Carson Beck or Trevor Lawrence? Nathan says Trevor, because he got paid, he needs to stay healthy and ball out. I think all Jags fans, if you're not a Georgia fan, you probably lean towards Trevor, right?
So, I think that, you know, in the first segment when we kind of outlined this question of the day, we brought up an interesting point that I think we do need to hit home.
Natural ingredients.
We all believe in Carson Beck sitting at this table. I think I speak for most of Jacksonville. We believe in Carson Beck. We believe in the operation that he will be orchestrating up at the University of Georgia because we have seen over the course of the better part of the last decade what Kirby Smart has been able to build. But also, once upon a time, a guy by the name of Spencer Rattler was the front runner to win the Heisman. When he was the quarterback at, not South Carolina, but Oklahoma. Things went south there pretty quickly, did they not? And so that's where I think that, look, we do need to look at this as, what if Carson Beck doesn't reach those lofty expectations? Does he stay in college for another year? Does he go to the NFL anyways? Because it needs to be addressed because we've seen it. I mean, look at Dylan Gabriel in Oklahoma. He transferred again. Now he's at Oregon. Now on my book, he has the second best odds to win the Heisman again, but this time with his third institution. And
People
so
love Oregon this season.
And so that's where, yes, in terms of pressure, there's more pressure on Trevor Lawrence to deliver because he's been assured all of everything that comes with being a franchise quarterback. And Carson, to his credit, even last year when everyone and their mother knew he was probably going to be the starting quarterback, he was not going to go to SEC Media Days as part of the Georgia contingent because Kirby hadn't assured him the job yet. He hadn't assured him, you are QB1. Now he has that, but it's still different than the assurances that Trevor has already gotten.
Yeah, and I think I have family that are Georgia fans, and early in the season last year were texting me like, not sure about your guy. And they say my guy because he went to Mandarin, not because I'm a Georgia fan, but not sure about it. Like, they were not confident that Carson Beck was going to be able to have the season, like we said, that their expectations are holding. And I think that is a difference. Someone on the text line, I wanted to read this one real quick. 217 said, when it comes down to it, the bar is set high for both Trevor and Carson. Carson's goal is Heisman, Natty, first-round pick. Even as a Gator fan, could see that happening. For Trevor, less turnovers, higher stats, i.e. passing yards and more touchdowns, plus we have to get to the playoffs. So the expectations are higher for Georgia, but I don't think that means the pressure is higher for Carson. They just have different levels of what people are expecting in the fan base right now because of how the previous seasons and how the organization has been within the last 4 or 5 years.
So here's another point as far as, again, I said Carson Beck is under more pressure because of the expectations for Georgia are to win the national championship and the Jaguars not to win a Super Bowl. So CBS Sports, Brad Crawford ranked the head coach as well as all the different position groups in the entire SEC. So, of course, now that is 16 teams because Oklahoma and Texas officially joined. And so for Georgia, here is what he's got. For the quarterback, he has Carson Beck first in the SEC. For the skill positions, he's got Georgia second in all the SEC. Offensive line, third. That one I think is a little bit crazy, but I guess they have a little bit of a turnover. Front seven, Georgia ranked first. Secondary, first. And head coach, first. Of course, head coach first. So you have all of the talent surrounding this guy. So that's why I think Georgia fans say no one else in the SEC has anywhere close to that high of a ranking across the entire team and, of course, the coach. So, therefore, you must win the national championship or else.
And that's where, and again, I'm not trying to slight Carson because I do believe he will, when all is said and done, be in the top 3 for the Heisman voting. He's going to get a trip to New York, if nothing else, because he's going to be the quarterback of that team you just outlined, Lauren. But I also can't help but look at the situation at Ohio State last year. And the reason it was a failure, if you were to ask Ohio State fans, yes, you lost to Michigan, and why did you lose to Michigan? Because we had the inferior quarterback. How many holes were poked into Kyle McCord last year? As this was the reason that it didn't come to fruition. Because if you were to go through those rankings for the Big Ten last year, Ohio State was among the leaders in terms of defensive line. Certainly in terms of wide receiver production with Marvin Harrison Jr. at the helm. And running back with Travion Henderson. Like, go down the line. They were the top of the top in terms of position groups in that conference. But ultimately, when they did not reach their lofty expectations, it fell at the foot of the quarterback.
Mm-hmm. By the way, if you want to laugh, if you're a Florida fan, not really laugh, but I say laugh so you don't cry. Yeah. Florida, where their rankings are, on again, Brad Crawford from CBS Sports. Quarterback, Florida is 7th. Skill positions, 10th. Offensive line, 11th. Front 7, 14th out of 16. Secondary, 9th. And coach, 13th. That is how you build a team that is not going to be coached by you.
That's how the expectations are opposite.
Correct. Yeah. That's why obviously I wasn't even going to bring Graham Mertz or DJ Lagway into this conversation because there aren't high expectations for either of them.
Is that out of 15 or, 14 or 16
no,
teams?
16
yeah, then is that a 16? Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Hey, it's
so
better,
Florida's not last.
Better than being 13th out of 14th or 14th out of 14th.
Yeah. Well, and then in the same light, when it comes to the Jaguars spent the 7th most money this offseason when it comes to the signings they made, and that's including the Josh Allen contract and re-signing Ezra and guys like that. But you go and get some of your concern was the wide receiver group and, Calvin not being in the right spot and injuries and stuff like that. So you addressed that in not only free agency, but the draft. Your big thing was the offensive line. You addressed that with Mitch Morse. Your other thing was interior pass rush. You addressed that with Eric Armstead. You have a guy in Josh Allen and Trayvon Walker who people are talking about being two of the better edges in the NFL that had the numbers they did last season. And then you have Tyson Campbell, who a lot of people are talking about being one of the better corners in the league. Then you have Foye, who's leading the league every single year in tackles. And then you have a guy like Christian Kirk, who's been able to really find himself, Evan Ingram, who's in the top of rankings for tight ends. So they also look like, when you go across and what they've been able to build and you're spending that money, people are expecting it to be better.
And I agree. I just think when you look at Georgia's rankings amongst the other teams in the SEC, and then you put the Jaguars amongst the other teams in all of the NFL, they're not going to be one in any of those categories, probably, right? They're not going to be 2 or 3. And so that's where, to me, Georgia has, because they've, and that's a good problem to have, by the way.
Yeah.
Once you become elite and the expectations are that high, the head coach probably isn't under any sort of pressure because they've been able to win 2 national championships. But the quarterback, the most important position on the field, is under a lot of pressure.
Yes.
I mean, people are just going to say you made Trevor the tied for highest paid quarterback. Like, that automatically is putting you at, you got to perform.
Right. Exactly.
But in the same light as Carson. Carson's one of the guys we talk about in the NIL. He's making a good amount of money in NIL money. He is, and that's why I said I could go either way. Like, I truly, if you guys both would have said Trevor Lawrence, I would have said Carson Beck and made the argument for Carson because I think
I said Trevor, and I find myself leaning towards Carson, right? Because I think that program, there's a difference. Like, the program has more pressure,
right?
Yeah,
but the quarterback has more pressure in this town.
Yeah,
but he is not My thought process is he is secure. Like, his family is secure,
That's
and
true.
he's secure for the next 7 years. He does not have to think
If
twice
Carson
about
Beck,
Mac Jones.
That's why I said
or CJ Beathard.
Right. If Carson Beck doesn't perform, he'll either get pulled or he'll have to transfer. And this dream of Heisman Trophy and number 1 overall pick goes to the wind. And that's why, again, I brought up Spencer Rattler, I brought up Kyle McCord, because this has happened before, albeit, yes, not in Athens, where across the board you have the most talented of the most talented.
Well, yeah, and then let's look at that in the NFL light. A guy like Daniel Jones, who had an incredible season, gets a big contract, and then now people are like, this last offseason, we're talking about maybe the Giants need to draft a quarterback. You don't want to be in that position in April. You don't want to be like, we paid Trevor, but is he really the guy? You want to know that going into next season, and that's why I do think it's so important, because you already paid him, so at this point you are stuck in that aspect, and Trevor's comfortable. Trevor has money and whatever, but when you're looking at the future of the Jaguars, you don't want to be after this season, did we make a mistake of paying this guy?
So not only did we post our question of the day on X, we also do have a poll version for those of you who like to press the little buttons on X.
Everybody does.
Everyone likes to press the buttons. That's like, you want to be involved. We have almost 100 votes in. 82% of the voters say Trevor Lawrence under more pressure in 2024 compared to Carson Beck.
And again, I think that's because there's
Jags
more,
fans.
yeah, we're talking to more of a skewed audience as far as, especially on social media, more Jaguars fans probably than Georgia fans. But you know what? I was asked this question over the weekend, and we can chat about this in the next segment. Do you think Trevor Lawrence lives up to the generational billing? And I thought it was a really good question. And the way I answered it, I think is different than how y'all will. So we'll do that when we return. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on a Big Chief Tire Monday on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
Big Chief Tire Monday on Helmets and Heels.
Something's coming on with the computer.
Are you receiving my signal?
Speak into the microphone, Squid Brain.
He says he's found the main controls to the power beam pier.
10XL.
Looking for a new vehicle? Take a look at Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville. Now's the time to save big this summer. Choose from more than 250 new and over 1,000 used and certified pre-owned vehicles on the lot, or shop anytime at JenkinsHyundaiofJacksonville.com. Hyundai has one of the top warranties in the business. Lifetime powertrain and a 5-year bumper-to-bumper warranty, plus 3 years free maintenance on a new vehicle. Give us the opportunity to earn your business today. Atlantic Boulevard, Jacksonville, or visit JenkinsHyundaiofJacksonville.com. Welcome to the family.
Your cooling system isn't working. Maybe somebody showed up with a portable electronic device. Then they discussed with you what your options are. Maybe they gave you an estimate that seems like an awful lot of money. What's the smart thing to do? When the situation merits a second opinion, get a Mike Merritt opinion. Yes, the Mike Merritt Comfort Team shows up with hand tools. We've never been able to fix an air conditioning problem with a tablet. Mike Merritt has been the trusted name for more than 30 years because there's never any hocus pocus. The Merritt team will walk you through the diagnostic steps up close and personal and show you exactly what you need. And the Mike Merritt price is likely to be far less because there's never an overtime charge, and the Merritt team doesn't work on commission. So remember, when it comes to the health of your cooling system, a second opinion can only help, and a Mike Merritt opinion can save you money. Florida license CACO 50384.
Hodges Mazda, what Mazda moves you? Find out. Take advantage of 0% APR on the versatile lineup of 2024 Mazda crossover SUVs. Lauren Brooks here. Choose from the off-road ready 2024 Mazda CX-50, the stylish 2024 Mazda CX-30, or the tailored for you Mazda CX-5. With 0% APR for 36 months, you'll find your perfect CUV. Our professional non-commissioned sales team always puts your best interests first, and you'll get 2 years free maintenance. Visit Hodges Mazda today or shop online at hodgesmazda.com. See dealer for details, terms, and fees. For qualified applicants, expires July 31st, 2024.
Guys, feeling deflated in the bedroom? ED, low T, no energy? If your stuff is broken, call 904-STROKEN or 904stroken.com. No shots in the first treatment, now free. Fix your ED at 904stroken.com.
Jimerson Burr is a full-service, Florida-based commercial law firm dedicated to helping businesses manage risk, maximize opportunities, and move their company forward. Jimerson Burr attorneys are business-oriented lawyers, equally comfortable as community leaders, private transaction counselors, or courtroom advocates. If you have a legal issue of any kind affecting your business, contact the firm at 389-0050 or jimersonfirm.com.
Daly's Dash is not only your Jaguars game day stop, but a great place to grab a meal any day of the week. To honor the Jags and the fans, we've crafted the Duval Sub. The Duval comes with freshly sliced turkey ham, melted cheddar and habanero jack cheese, topped with crisp lettuce, fresh tomatoes, and a double portion of our secret sauce, all served on a fresh roll. Come by your local's Daly's Dash today to get your delicious Duval Sub. Daly's is the official convenience store sponsor of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
The saying goes, the grass is greener on the other side. Well, that is actually true if your neighbor installed artificial turf. Lauren Brooks here from my friends at Sunshine Turf, a family-owned local company that will take your backyard dreams and turn them into a reality. Caleb can design anything from putting greens to pet runs, and if you have a pool, you'll definitely love maintenance-free turf around it. Visit sunshineturf.info to get a free quote today. Sunshine Turf. That's sunshineturf.info.
This date in sports history is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
July 15th, 1960, Baltimore's future Baseball Hall of Fame third baseman Brooks Robinson goes 5 for 5, including the cycle and the Orioles' 5-2 win over the Chicago White Sox.
Hey folks, it's Mike Dempsey for Pella Windows and Doors. Now you probably heard me mention that errant golf ball that led us to replace our windows. And obviously, if I'm investing in my home's appearance and comfort, I want the best. Well, now my new Pella windows are installed and they look fantastic. And we've already noticed a difference in outside noise reduction and energy savings. So if you need to replace your windows or doors, visit my friends at the Pella showroom on Phillips Highway or check them out online at PellaJacks.com. That's Pella Windows and Doors.
This is Hayes Carline for SkyLife Elite. Are you tired of canceled flights, unruly passengers, and layovers? Call my friends at SkyLife Elite. Consider using private charter flights for your next adventure. Yes, you can afford it. Make your own schedule. Fly direct. Drive your car to Craig Airport and get directly on the plane. SkyLife Elite can make that happen. Call 490-9332. Go to flyskylife.com and find them on social media. Fly SkyLife Elite, North Florida's premier private air charter.
Hey Jaguar friends, I'm Donovan Darius, former 10-year NFL strong safety for the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm hosting my free Tackling Technique Jaguars camp for kids ages 10 to 14 on July the 27th. This Jaguar camp will have some of my former Jaguar teammates out there coaching the kids on all the fundamentals that it takes to be a great tackler. To get involved, just go to DariusNextLevelTraining.com to sign up your kids ages 10 to 14. If you'd like to sponsor, you can go to the same website, DariusNextLevelTraining.com.
You go into your shower feeling, but as soon as you reach for the Irish Spring, your day immediately gets better. That crisp, fresh, unmistakable Irish Spring scent zings your brain and awakens your senses. So when you finally emerge from the shower, 37 minutes later, because you pay the water bill so you can stay in there as long as you want, you're ready to take on the day. And smell great doing it. Irish Spring Body Wash and Bar Soap. Fresh, green, Irish. Shop now at Walmart.
Hey, David again with Royal Pest Services. TAP Insulation stands for thermal, acoustic, and pest control. Keep your home cool, noise out, and pests dead. Visit RoyalPestServices.com to schedule a free inspection.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Helmets and Heels is switched on by
First Coast Lighting and Fans.
Upscale lighting, fans, and home decor on 1010XL.
Welcome back to a Big Chief Tire Monday. Taylor Dahl, Mia O'Brien, RJ Saunders. I'm Lauren Brooks with you. We're talking all about quarterbacks so far in the show. Who's under more pressure, Carson Beck or Trevor Lawrence? So the question I was asked over the weekend, do you think Trevor Lawrence will live up to his generational billing? This is how I answered it. I said, I think Trevor Lawrence can win a Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. So for me, the answer is yes. Will he be the best quarterback in all of the NFL every single year? No. But I don't think he has to be. If he can truly win a Super Bowl here, then that is certainly good enough for Jags fans, but I think that also means that he was generational.
You could also argue that Nick Foles and Joe Flacco have won Super Bowls, so I wouldn't put them in the generational category per se.
But I do think it's harder to win now than it was then. Even a few years ago.
Nick Foles was 7 years ago.
Right.
Do you consider Matthew Stafford to be generational?
I would say yes. Even as a Florida fan who hates Georgia, I would say yes.
Okay.
I mean, the word generational, I guess, is tricky. Are we talking about elite or are we talking about generational truly means like Andrew Luck?
Correct.
Well,
that's who I was going to bring up because the last quarterback to truly have the generational tag on them was Andrew Luck. And
did he live up to it?
No. He didn't. And part of that was he retired too early, I think, to ultimately live up to that. But if you're to look at the early part of his NFL career, and by early part, I mean, well, quite frankly, his entire career, because he only played, what was it, six seasons when all was said and done, at least 6 seasons that were healthy. The fact that he went 11-5 his first 3 seasons, that lives up to the generational billing because at the end of the day, in the words of XL Primetime, you're judged on dubs. Mm-hmm. And the fact that he came into the league, and granted, he came into a very unique situation, one that I think outside of Caleb Williams this upcoming season, we've never seen a number 1 overall pick go into a situation where you were gifted elite receivers, an offensive line that, yes, obviously took its lumps while Luck was there, but was able to help you get to 11 wins in 3 seasons as you were 23, 24, and 25 years old. You just don't see that because usually if you're picking number 1 at the top, there's a reason. It's because you have so many holes on your roster. Unfortunately, in the case of the Indianapolis Colts, they were picking number 1 solely because Peyton Manning broke his neck. Yeah. And that season went in the dumpster real quick. So that to me is generational. The fact that he came into the league and was able to immediately hit the ground running. Yeah. That's where I think he lives up to the generational billing. But to your point, Lauren, he never actually finished the story, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, I think that Trevor could flip this thing because, again, you look at John Elway, who's the other quarterback who was billed as generational coming out of college. And John Elway's first few seasons in the National Football League weren't 11-5. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm pulling it up right now just to confirm that he wasn't 11-5 year 1 because I don't think he was. I know Troy Aikman wasn't. Yeah, he was 4-6 year 1. 12-2, 11-5, 11-5. The next 3 years. So, yeah, you see what I'm saying? Like, I think at the end of the day, that's where the knock on Trevor is. Now, none of those coaches had Urban Meyer as their head coach in year 1. But again,
quarterbacks, yeah.
Yes, correct. But John Elway did start 4-6 and then rebounded to 12-2. And while Trevor Lawrence didn't go 12-2 in 2022, it was a step towards that. And so that's where I think the living up to that billing, it's a very fine line.
Yeah, and I think that I tweeted this probably like a month or so ago that I hate that one of the words I think is overused is generational because to me the word generational needs to be to a very limited group of people, and I think that word was obviously used with Trevor, and at this point in time, no, I don't think he's close to what we felt that word was supposed to mean and what it is supposed to mean. Same on the same lines as what Mia's saying. Can that switch? Yes. it would have to happen very soon for me. It would have to, like this year, we would need to see that massive increase in certain numbers and decrease in turnovers. And you would want to have this, where at the end of the season, like I said, you are like no doubt in your mind Trevor Lawrence is a top quarterback. It doesn't have to be top 5, top 10, to where you at least start even considering that. But at this moment, when to me, generational means that when you're coming in, you are somebody who kind of raises the people around you almost immediately. And at least by year 4, you are at one of those top quarterbacks. And I think that, like you said, some people consider he is, some people consider he isn't. But I would say at this moment, it looks like no, but that doesn't necessarily mean a bad thing for me, because there are other quarterbacks that I think are really, really good that I wouldn't put in the generational realm either.
See, I think the conversation's different because he was hurt a lot of this season, and the trajectory that he was on when healthy, I think we would be having a different conversation. And I do think he's elevated some of the players around him, like a Christian Kirk, like an Evan Ingram, certainly hopefully like a Gabe Davis and Brian Thomas Jr. this season. I think those guys are better because of Trevor Lawrence. The word generational, though, to your point, that's the tricky part is to be generational.
Like, what does that word mean?
Right now, the quarterback in the NFL that's generational is Patrick Mahomes. They didn't use that word on him, obviously.
No.
He wasn't drafted number 1 overall,
Nope.
but that's now the expectation, or at least that's the comparison. That's the quarterback you're going to compare Trevor to.
Yeah.
In order to be generational, now you have to win 3 Super Bowls.
So you think Matthew Stafford is generational?
Yes.
Okay, so let's go through Matthew Stafford, because judged on dubs. Year 1, he was 2-8. Year 2, he only played 3 games. He was 1-2. 10-6, breakthrough. 4-12. 7-9, 11-5. 7-9, 9-7, 9-7, 6-10. I know there's some Jaguar fans out there thinking, "Oh my goodness, is that our future?" 3-4-1, 5-11, 12-5. Oh wait, that was with the Los Angeles Rams after he was traded.
Well, I think the Lions have been a really bad team, and I'm not sure that a lot of quarterbacks with what they had, with what Stafford had, would have been able to win double digits. Like, that's where it's Mina Kimes that always says the quarterbacks,
the
resume is not the wins and losses.
But they did have like a Megatron. They had Bush. They had times where their team was really good. It just had this weird hover over Detroit. And that's what, honestly, do you connect that? Like, because the Jags have had the same thing historically. So is that what you're looking forward to? Because you have this guy who's, people think, and some people may say generational, some people may say Matthew Stafford's a Hall of Famer and others not, or at least a first ballot Hall of Famer. But then you look at what was kind of surrounded in Detroit, and it was always that, like, well, you can't win in Detroit. But that's also been kind of the mindset in Jacksonville for a long time. So can Trevor break through that? Because I was talking last week about how we used the injuries a lot this last season, of how maybe that affected certain things. But if you go back to that Chargers game, if Jags would have lost that, the mindset after that season wouldn't have been as high, because he threw 4 interceptions in that playoff game. If they would have lost, that would have been the storyline, not that Trevor came back and whatever. Because of that, them being able to come back, it changed the mindset after that season. But I also think that he had a half a good season in 2022, and he had a half a good season in 2023. That's not a generational guy to me. You have to do it a full season, despite other things happening, at least seeing 1 year. That's why I think this year is so important to make that decision of which way Trevor Lawrence is going and where he actually sits in the realm of quarterbacks.
Outside of Patrick Mahomes, who else would you put the generational label on that's playing in the NFL right now? Aaron Rodgers?
No.
No.
Well,
Once upon a time.
Aaron Rodgers, yes.
Lamar Jackson?
No,
Aaron Rodgers
no,
is going
because
to be in the list of quarterbacks we're saying is the best of all time.
I wouldn't call Tom Brady. Well, I would call Tom Brady generational in hindsight, but in terms of being a diaper dandy right out the gate as a rookie and immediately changing the way the quarterback position is played, no, I'm putting that generational tag only on the elite of the elite. So right now it's only Mahomes, and before Mahomes it would be Peyton Manning. And that's quite frankly it for me.
I think Aaron Rodgers took over the Favre offense and pretty quickly was Aaron Rodgers. Like, you talked
after 3 years of waiting.
It was, but that doesn't, I mean, when he played, it was like there was no lapse in what Green Bay was able to do.
Box ready to go.
Yeah. And that's why we have that conversation too of how beneficial it is for these quarterbacks to sit and wait. Jordan Love just got to do it too. So are we talking about Jordan Love in that conversation, or is it just organizationally how much more functional Green Bay is because they've been able to find, go from Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers to what Jordan Love, his high expectations. So do you consider those generational, or do you consider they were in the most functional, one of the most functional organizations you could have, and everything worked out well for them?
And they were just a great quarterback.
Yeah.
Like an all-time quarterback. Like, I would say Aaron Rodgers is an all-time quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
But generational for me is You got the label, whether it was in high school or in college, because Mahomes didn't have the label per se coming into the draft, but Mahomes was still regarded as somebody who once upon a time against Baker Mayfield threw for over 700 yards at Texas Tech.
Yeah.
So
if he had been in any other school, I shouldn't say any other. If he had been in a Power 5 powerhouse, like an Alabama, LSU, Texas, Oklahoma, I'm naming SEC schools because SEC Media Day started today.
Right.
But any of those schools, I do think there would have been a more people, talking about him coming into the league.
That's why for me, if you're generational, we're talking from start to finish. You were billed as the chosen one, and you became the chosen one.
Yeah.
And that's where you could make the argument that Mahomes doesn't even fulfill that definition. Peyton Manning, maybe the only one of late who fulfills that definition because, like I said,
because
about
you talked
Andrew
about
Luck,
it pre him coming into the NFL.
Correct.
That's when that word's tagged with you.
Right. And like I said about Andrew Luck, he fulfilled the prophecy, but then never finished the full story because the injuries piled up. He retired early. And so I don't think you can put the generational instant Hall of Famer, one of the greats. Aaron Rodgers is an interesting one because I would consider him one of the top 10 greatest quarterbacks of all time, but I don't know if I would say generational.
Well, he clearly didn't have that label coming in. Correct. And that's where I think there are also, when you talk about where guys given this generational label and able to live up with it, and then there's the guys you're just going to talk about being like they ended up being generational quarterbacks, and that's a Patrick Mahomes, and Aaron Rodgers, a Tom Brady. Those are guys that obviously did not have that hype or that label pre-NFL, but were able to make their careers generational.
Here's a definition of a generational player. A skill set that is unique, changes the NFL, or very difficult to replicate. So if you
Where's
go
that
with
from? Google or dictionary.com?
Reddit.
Reddit, even better.
Yeah.
We believe it.
It's actually about NBA, but I changed it to NFL because we can do these things like that. But I think the unique part and the skill set is why Trevor got labeled with generational. It's the talent that he was born with. And obviously he's worked hard to go along with that. But you don't just get to always be able to be 6'6" and the cannon type of arm that he has. That's why he was labeled generational.
Well, he was labeled as generational because he has that, and then he won, and then he got to college and was expected to win, and he won, and so that's now you're expected to win in the NFL. Can you do it? And I see Robert and the MyBookie Digital Studio chat line noting that it took Peyton 4 years to put it together. I wouldn't put Troy Aikman in the generational category per se. It took him 4 years to put it together. And so, yes, the story is not written. It's not finished. Just like the story for Andrew Luck is over and it was never completed. It's not over for Trevor. He could still change it.
Yep.
Because we have to be patient, as Doug Peterson says. Who would have thought being patient, like a novel idea in 2024?
Yeah, patience is not what fan bases like to hear. I'm sure when I said
very good at.
Yeah, right, exactly. When I said Florida's fan base is not toxic, but it's impatient, I think you could literally say every fan base is quote unquote impatient when it's been a long time since they've won. Teams like the Chiefs, their fan base right now probably not impatient. Georgia, not impatient, even though they didn't win last year. But most fan bases, and certainly a team I think that falls into that category is Alabama. And how patient are they going to be with Kalen DeBoer now that Nick Saban is just talking about football and not coaching football?
Yeah, and then in the NFL, you almost want to say the Patriots, because the Patriots had Super Bowl, Super Bowl, Super Bowl, Super Bowl, Super Bowl, and now they're going through kind of this lull. How patient is this fan base going to be to them until they get back to that level? I don't think very patient, because they, especially at least let's say 40 and younger, losing doesn't exist in their terms. And so now how quickly are they giving up on something? We saw the other quarterbacks when it comes to Mac Jones and some of those guys. But now when you're looking at this, like how much time do they give this combination of what they just built in one season?
And that's certainly part of the thing too, is what was your team like when you were growing up? And for Jaguars fans, obviously that are 40 and ish age, right around there, in the 90s when they were young and the team had just started, the team was very successful. And then there was the very long drought. And certainly that's what Florida fans are going through. Very successful in the 90s, successful in 2000s, but maybe since 2012 and on, not the same type of championship level coaching. And obviously you've got Georgia that didn't have a national championship since 1980. And people like to use that like, oh, Georgia can't win, whatever. And now they have the two. And so it's very different for every fan base. But I think you're going to have a lot of fun in Dallas tomorrow. when you do get to talk to Carson Beck.
Yes. And again, if you haven't had the chance to vote in our question of the day on X, be sure to do so. I also stuck the poll in the MyBookie Digital Studio of the morning group at SEC Media Days, day 2, day 1 today. And from Boots on the Ground, our very own Matt Hayes out there on assignment already. I'll be joining him later this evening. Brian Kelly at the podium this hour, one of the first coaches to hit the podium at SEC Media Days. And how about this quote, ladies? This is from Brian Kelly, former friend of Taylor Dahl, when he was once upon a time the head coach at Notre Dame, now, of course, the head coach at LSU. This will be the deepest team we've had. In year 3, I've had really good success getting the team to be the most accountable they've been. That's usually been pretty good at my previous stops. Year 3 for Brian Kelly at Central Michigan. They went 9-4. Year 3 at Cincinnati, 11-3 and went to the Orange Bowl. Year 3 at Notre Dame, 12-1 and reached the BCS National Championship game.
He better hope that defense is fixed because.
Well, he says Harold Perkins is over 220 pounds, so that's going to solve everything because now he doesn't have Mason Smith, he doesn't have Jordan Jefferson. Now he can finally play Harold Perkins inside, and he'll actually be able to match up with SEC offensive linemen.
He played at 217 last year, up to 225. I don't know if that makes that much of a difference, but certainly we will see. We've talked a lot about Georgia football today. Talking about Georgia baseball, last night Charlie Condren drafted 3rd to the. I always want to say Condren because that's the family ballpark in Gainesville, but Charlie Condon drafted 3rd overall to the Rockies. I've told y'all I got to go to that, and you've been too, right, Taylor, to Coors Field?
Oh yeah,
yeah. And so if you get to see a lot of offense, certainly, it's so much fun to watch because that ball flies out of the ballpark. So it'll be fun to see. Can he do the same thing he did in Athens, there in Colorado? And then Jack Caglione drafted 6th overall, and this was confusing to me. So I want to see if maybe y'all can clear this up. So Jeff Passan said that Cags will be a hitter only. And then the Royals reporter Ann Rogers tweeted out after talking to Caglione in the media portion that he will continue to be a two-way player, that Cags said he'll continue to be a two-way player.
Well, they announced him as a two-way player.
Right, and that's when Passan was like, yeah, I don't know why they did that. He's going to be a hitter only. And so I was like, I'm so confused.
On3 also reported that at the very least, they're going to let him try to begin playing both ways. Ultimately, I think he lands as a hitter, personally speaking, just because I think we look at Shohei Ohtani and we're like, oh, just look at him do it. Like, oh, that must be easy. No, it's not easy. There's a reason that no one has done it successfully and consistently year over year since Babe Ruth.
Right.
So
I could see them wanting to test the waters a little bit, though, because if you have a Shohei that you just drafted.
Right. I mean, I can tell you he throws gas.
Yeah.
The problem is his location is not always on point.
And
we saw that velo go down towards the end of last season, too.
Right. And that would require then he has extra time dedicated to becoming the best pitcher he can possibly be. Let's be real. As much as we saw the first 7 picks of the MLB draft be college guys, which is quite the departure from previous years, the reality is it doesn't matter that they're 22, 23. Tommy John is now basically a rite of passage. And while most of these guys have had it, we're now seeing so many guys who have to have it multiple times. If you're now forcing him to focus in on his velocity, on his placement, on focusing on pitching, who's to say he doesn't have another setback in terms
offensively?
In terms of his pitching prowess.
Oh, yes.
So whether he has to have shoulder surgery, Tommy John, something like that, and then that sets him back as a hitter, and that sets back the entire process. So that's where I think ultimately the Royals are going to say, we have a generational hitter on our hands. Let's use him for that. And as our friend Nick De La Torre of On3 pointed out, the Royal system isn't exactly teeming with talent right now. And so I think he has an opportunity to progress through that farm system rather quickly.
Yeah, if I'm them, I have him on my starting roster as a first baseman in the very near future. And that's why I think we've seen the shift to college, because you can get those guys playing much faster.
Skeens is starting an all-star game tomorrow, a year after he was in the College World Series.
One other note, FSU baseball, James Tibbs went 13th to the San Francisco Giants. And right after him, fellow FSU player Cam Smith went 14th overall. The guy that I told you, Taylor, and Frank, and Mia, you were on vacation, but that I think is going to be the best of all of the group outside of Cags is Christian Moore, the second baseman for Tennessee. He went 8th to the Angels. So we'll certainly see.
The Angels need some good news.
Yeah. We'll see in the next year, pretty much, I think, how some of these guys do. All right. When we return, you guys had some listeners tweet in questions and submit questions on Friday.
Yes, we did. We started a new program that we'll have from time to time here on Helmets and Heels. It's hashtag Ask H&H. So we had our Heeligans out there in Heeligan Nation. You simply have to post a question about anything. It could be about the Jags, the Bears, your favorite flavor of ice cream, college football, Broadway shows, whatever you wanted to ask Taylor and I, just post it on X with the hashtag AskH&H, stolen, of course, from our good friends at Move the Sticks. Shout out to Bucky Brooks and Daniel Jeremiah. They do hashtag AskMTS. My friend John Alba does it as well. So we had some fun with it. We didn't get to all of your questions, so we're going to tackle some of those coming up in the 1 o'clock hour.
I like it. So you are listening to Helmets and Heels on a Big Chief Tire Monday on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
Big Chief Tire Monday on Helmets and Heels. Dan Hicken.
Damn, he's like a super spy.
Jeff Prosser.
He's a spy, the same as me. He's not a super spy. He ain't a spy like you, man. He got a fly-ass ninja outfit and parachute. We hanging from balloons.
They are The Drill.
They're both adorable, but just a little bit flaky.
Mornings on 1010XL. Now you can watch 1010XL shows all day on X, Facebook, and YouTube. Brought to you by MyBookie. Experience Vegas from the comfort of your phone anytime, anywhere. Sign up today. Use promo code 1010XL.
Mia here, and we've all been there before. A weekend trip to the casino canceled because real life came calling. MyBookie's new and improved online casino, though, is here to change the game. Dive into a truly realistic casino experience featuring the latest in slots, progressive jackpots, and live dealer action, all from the comfort of your home. Live casino is so easy to use, folks. Just go to mybookie.ag like you normally would for the sportsbook, and instead go 2 spots over to the right where it says Live Casino. Click on there, and you'll find live dealers ready to deal or spin just like you're at the casino. The MyBookie Casino provides a Vegas experience where the action is in your hands. And yes, the rumors are true. You don't even need to wear pants. Start at MyBookie today with a generous sign-up bonus using promo code 1010XL and a revamped loyalty program ensuring a host of exclusive VIP perks. Sign up and hit the casino with promo code 1010XL. The more you play, the more you win, only with MyBookie.
Men, if you're suffering from erectile dysfunction or PE, Prime Men's Medical Center will get your sex life back in just 1 visit. Their painless, breakthrough medical treatments eliminate ED and PE. Here's a specialist in men's health.
I'm Dr. Simovitz. Have Viagra or Cialis let you down? Prime Men's Medical Center offers the most effective treatments that eliminate ED and PE, with men lasting longer than ever. 98% of patients see instant results on their first visit.
Prime Men's Medical Center's breakthrough treatments will restore your sex life regardless of age or medical history. Your consultation and first treatment are free. Plus, you'll see instant results in the office. Plus, qualified patients will have their testosterone checked free. Call 904-902-8222. 904-902-8222. To regain your sex life in just 1 visit, call now. 904-902-8222.
This is Chelsea with Renewal by Andersen Custom Windows and Doors. Here's what people are saying about working with us.
Installers were professional, courteous, and efficient.
Great customer service. On time, explained the process, and walked me through the installation. Amazing team.
Our experience with Renewal by Andersen was outstanding from the beginning to end.
Renewal by Andersen, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Visit rbafla.com.
License number CGC 1527613.
Renewal by Andersen, Custom Windows and Doors.
Let's fire up the flavor and ignite those appetites. Let's slow down and smell the barbecue. Because all your favorites are smoked for hours and ready for eating when you are. From our famous ribs to slow smoked pork. Enjoy some perfection by the plateful, safely in our dining room or in the comfort of your home. With curbside pickup, drive-through, and delivery. Sonny's Barbecue, local pitmasters since '68.
The flagship station of the Jacksonville Jaguars. WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
Do the Garber Wiggle, Garber Wiggle, Wiggle Wiggle, Garber Wiggle.
At Garber Auto Mall, we can wiggle it. Best price, we can wiggle it. Best trade value, we can wiggle it. Best payment, we can wiggle it. Ford, Chevy, Buick, GMC, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram. With 8 American brands, we can wiggle it. Visit us in Green Cove Springs or online at GarberAutomall.com. And remember, at Garber Auto Mall, there's always a little room for wiggle.
Do the Garber Wiggle, Garber Wiggle, Wiggle Wiggle, Garber Wiggle.
Facing a DUI charge or even a boating under the influence charge? Well, I'm your man, DUI lawyer Malcolm Anthony at 285-4LAW. 285-4LAW. Once again, 285-4LAW.
Rick Ballou for Carlson Dental. I've been telling you this for quite some time because it's true. I hate going to the dentist, or at least I used to hate going to the dentist. I had total anxiety, and then I tried sedation, light sedation for cleaning and deep sedation as well for cavities and root canals. Folks, it's an incredible experience. So don't be nervous. Don't be scared. Go to CarlsonDentalGroup.com. That's CarlsonDentalGroup.com for all of your dental needs.
This is Greg Huntington, a.k.a. The Mangler. I'm on the winning team at Waste Management. WM is the largest sustainability company in North America. If your business needs sustainable environmental services for waste removal and recycling collection, then you can count on the industry leader of WM to deliver results. Your services will be completed in a timely, safe, and eco-friendly manner. Go to WM.com, WM.com, and get signed up today. If anyone can talk trash, it's The Mangler. Go Team WM, and as always, Duval!
Don't make a bad call when it comes to servicing your home. Cooling off with a baby pool in the house to fix your air conditioning problem is a bad call. Trying to catch a wave in a flooded bathroom is a bad call. Using a burning electrical panel to make s'mores is a bad call. The next time something goes wrong, make a good call to Donovan.
Whether you need air, electric, or plumbing service, Donovan is always a good call. It's why we've been trusted by our customers for almost 40 years and why you can trust us to deliver fast, reliable service to your home. Donovan, always a good call.
Visit DonovanAC.com today.
The coolers are full at your local Gate gas station, making it easy for you to cruise in and cruise out with little downtime. Ice cold Coronas, Natty Lights, Stella Artois, and Michelob Ultra. Don't forget the king of beers, Cold Buds. Gate's got them in the cooler, waiting for you.
I'm RJ Saunders with your Southeast Orthopedic Specialist local sports update. For 1010XL, Florida State outfielder James Tibbs III and FSU third baseman Cam Smith were selected in the first round of Sunday night's Major League Baseball draft, capping a season in which the duo led the Seminoles back to the College World Series for the first time in 5 seasons. Tibbs was selected 13th overall by the San Francisco Giants. Smith was taken 1 pick later, 14th overall by the Chicago Cubs. The Jacksonville Jaguars and Everbank Stadium partners will host a job fair on today at Everbank Stadium. The hiring event aims to fill thousands of part-time positions for all 2024 home games and other stadium events throughout the season. The event will take place from 5 to 8 p.m. in the East Gallagher Club at Everbank Stadium. Parking is free in Lot C, and candidates can enter through the East Club gates. 93 degrees at 102. Time and temp brought to you by Bueller Air Conditioning. Stay cooler with Bueller.
1010XL is presented by Farrah & Farrah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
You're listening to Helmets and Heels.
Illuminated by
First Coast Lighting and Fans.
On 1010XL.
Mia O'Brien, Taylor Dahl, RJ Saunders. I'm Lauren Brooks with you. Little Lainey Wilson as we find out what the listeners want to know from us.
Yes, in case you missed it, hashtag AskH&H is how you can get in on the conversation with us. You can ask us whatever your heart desires. We put that out into the ether on Friday. We got to a couple of our questions on Friday, but not all of them. So wanted to tap into some more of those on this fine Monday before the Superstation completely pivots to SEC Media Days coverage and is enthralled with that over the next 3 days. So let's start with one from our good friend Daniel Griffiths of the Jaguar Report, who asks, how many sacks does Trayvon Walker finish with in 2024? Hashtag AskH&H. Lauren, this is one that I know you and I have both said we believe is our spicy hot take heading into this season.
That Trayvon will have more sacks than Josh Hines-Allen, yes. How many is that? I will say 14.
14.
2 touchdowns.
I am envisioning 15. Taylor, do you have an estimate for where you think Trayvon Walker finishes?
Yeah, I think, because I think that they'll spread out more on the line this year because of obviously Josh and Trayvon, but also healthy Devon, Eric Armstead getting some interior, Travis getting mixed in there. So I don't think the sack numbers by the team go down, but I do think his stay about the same at like 9, 10, 11.
So you have 9, 10, 11 for Trayvon. So 9, 10, 11 for Taylor, 14 for Lauren, and I go the highest. I say 15. By the way, I believe Josh Hines-Allen will have 12 when all is said and done. So still 27 combined, which is pretty darn impressive. Let's get to another one. This is from our friend Gus Logue. This season only. Oh boy, Taylor. This one is going to pull at your heartstrings. This season in 2024, would you rather have Christian Kirk or Keenan Allen?
Yeah, I'm going Keenan Allen if it's just for this season. I think if you were talking about beyond that, it may change just because obviously Christian Kirk's younger. But Keenan Allen is one of the best route runners in the league. He has many seasons over 1,100 yards. Obviously, Kirk only has the one. Every season has 7, 8, 9 touchdowns. Kirk only did that 1 year. He has a higher catch percentage than Christian Kirk. He's obviously that veteran guy, and I guess part of it would too be, what do you need on your offense? Like, what type of receiver? Because they're also kind of different receivers too. But if you're looking for a guy, like, I think a Keenan Allen honestly would fit perfectly in Jacksonville if you have a young guy in Brian Thomas Jr. And then but then you would still kind of want Christian Kirk. So that's the interesting thing here. But I just think that when you look at if you were just saying this season, which wide receiver do I think would be better right away? I think Keenan Allen. But if we're talking about future, like, who would you want long term? I would say Christian Kirk.
Yeah, because 27 for Kirk and 32 as far as ages for Keenan Allen.
Which doesn't sound massively different, but it is, obviously.
For sure, yeah. I mean, I think Christian Kirk is what this offense needs, and Keenan Allen's going to be great in Chicago for that offense. I'd probably lean Kirk, but that probably is because I know how much this offense faltered without him last season, and the Chargers, when he was there, I don't know that. Well, he's really good, but I don't know that for this offense he'd be as good as.
Yeah, I think the question that needs to be thrown back the questioner's way is, who are you drafting for? Who is your team? Because I think that both of those players fit the skill set of their respective teams, and I think they fit the skill set of their previous teams as well. I would probably go Kirk just because, as much as, yes, both players have inside-outside versatility, I think that Kirk's really only scratching the ceiling when it comes to splitting out wide. It's something he really wasn't asked to do a whole heck of a lot of out in Arizona. We saw his ceiling of, scratching the surface of being a number one wide receiver throughout the course of the last 2 years. And he proved a lot of people wrong in 2022, not just because of the amount of money that Trent Baalke gave him, but I think because so many people had labeled him as he is a pure slot wide receiver and that's it. And I think that's where, knowing the limitations that the framework of the Jaguars 2023 offensive scheme had for him, and the fact that he missed the last 6 games, I don't think we truly know how impactful he could be lined up outside.
Yeah, I think what we will see this year, I think, is going to exemplify why the Jaguars went and got those other 2 speedy receivers and Gabe Davis and Brian Thomas Jr., because now they can do a little bit more. And Calvin Ridley, while he was here, had over 1,000 yards. I understand that. But I don't know that he was as versatile as maybe they had originally thought.
Right. I think that they could have put Calvin in the slot more, and that would have given more opportunities to Christian Kirk on the outside, but they didn't. And so that's where, again, I don't think the book's written on him either. Yeah. I think that there is still room to grow even at he's 27, we said? 27 years old? 27 years old, which is impressive. That at 27 years old, we're still like, no, there's still another level. Before we get to the next one, after this first one of our hashtag Ask H&H questions from you, the Heeligans, I want to do one fun one before we get to another one that I think will be more of a debate for the three of us. Would you take $10,000 for free? I'm giving you $10,000 for free. Or take a chance at $50,000, but to get that $50K, you have to get one major league hitter out one time through a lineup, 1 through 9.
I'm taking the $10,000 right here, right now.
I'm not getting anybody out.
Here's the thing, though.
I'm not getting anybody in this building out.
Here's the thing, though.
You might get me out.
We've seen it more and more. We've seen position players having to hop on the mound because a manager says, I'm not going to waste my arms. Yeah. I'm just going to.
But they play Major League Baseball.
But
let me just start there.
Right. But they're out here
and their ERAs are usually over.
But they're out here throwing 6. BP. Right. So, it's the second baseman's out here throwing BP, essentially, understanding they're already down 10 runs. They're already going to lose the game. And he's somehow finding a way to end the game and get outs because he's got a major league defense behind him.
But he's also throwing usually 50 miles per hour, and the hitters are so trained nowadays to hit pitches that are over 90 miles per hour.
I would have to go halfway to the plate to make sure it even gets to the plate. So there's the first problem.
What are you doing?
I'm trying it. I'm absolutely going to try my hat at the 50. Because here's the thing.
But then you get nothing if you don't get them out.
If you throw a lollipop, right? You throw a lollipop at them. Are you telling me that every single lollipop you throw at them, they're going to hit a home run?
Yeah. Yes.
Taylor I can just see, or I hit them, and then they're like, well, now she just...
What happens if I walk them?
I feel like there's got to be an opportunity where someone, tops it a little too, or they, somehow they make contact, but it's lined out right to the second or third baseman.
Yeah. Make a free throw. I'll do that one.
You got 9 tries at it. We're going through a major league lineup.
I do. One of my favorite moments is watching Rizzo. Rizzo struck out. I'm trying to remember who it was, but it was fantastic because Rizzo's just like goofy and smiley, and literally it was like little bloopers, like barely going over the plate, and he was just like cracking up laughing because he was like, how did I just strike you?
Throwing a lot of off-speed stuff, man. A lot of off-speed.
Taylor lost at shuffleboard over the weekend, so she's sure.
It's a two-old man who hustled me.
Yeah, I don't really know if Taylor's a gambling woman right now after getting hustled in the game of shuffleboard.
That's what I'm trying to say.
It was Freddie Freeman, by the way, that Anthony Rizzo struck out. So
That's
it's good.
right. I
Better
remember
too.
that. Yeah, I'm with you. I wouldn't get any of them out. I also probably wouldn't get the ball anywhere near the strike zone, so that would be my biggest problem.
Okay, so this one's from @Trevorville of our hashtag Ask H&H segment. And he quote tweeted Emmanuel Acho on Speak Now, first whatever his show on FS1 is. And he went through the teams that he believes have a realistic odds of winning the Super Bowl this season. And so Trevorville's question is, do the Jaguars have the roster to win a Super Bowl in 2024?
I think it's a very good question
because Emmanuel Acho included them at least in this segment. So I
think it's a very good question, but I think if we're looking at how do the Jaguars compare to the Chiefs and the 49ers, the two teams that were in the Super Bowl last year, I don't think the roster's in the same elite category that theirs are.
Yeah, and I think that obviously with the Chiefs, it's almost like Patrick Mahomes elevates them so much that you don't even really pay a whole lot of attention to the rest of the roster. But then when you go through and you're talking about Kelsey and you're talking about Chris Jones and their offensive line somehow even though Jawan Taylor jumps every 5 seconds, you still go through and there's definitely like power pieces. There's top names in the NFL when you're talking about that. Their secondary, And then when you go to the Niners, to me, that's just like on paper, one of the best roster in the NFL. So I don't think they're anywhere close to the 49ers roster from start to finish. But I think you could go through and make arguments in each, like I said earlier, when you talk about Trayvon and Josh, I would put them right now at this moment as the duo. If you're saying, hey, let's rank these edge duos in the NFL, they would be towards the top in that. I think that when you have a guy where we're all pretty high on when it comes to Foye and Devin Lloyd and what that room could look like too. So when you add them to that, and then you talk about, I've mentioned many times, I think Eric Armstead adds a whole other level to the defensive line and the pass rush. So I do think there's little pieces that you would put towards the top of positional groups, but as a whole roster, I'm not sure it's one that most people are looking at saying it's a Super Bowl team.
So here were the rosters that, again, Emmanuel Acho says he believes could win a Super Bowl. The Cincinnati Bengals, the Cleveland Browns, the Baltimore Ravens, the Miami Dolphins, the New York Jets, the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Houston Texans, and the Kansas City Chiefs for the AFC. Notable omission there, of course, the Buffalo Bills, who he crossed out, and the Pittsburgh Steelers, who he crossed out, which I think the Bills one is interesting when we frame this question up, Lauren, by saying, well, Patrick Mahomes elevates whatever level you believe the rest of that Chiefs roster is at, because that is what Buffalo is banking on. They are banking on, they paid Josh Allen. He has proven he is a top 3 quarterback in the National Football League. Can he elevate and overcome a roster that may not be the Niners?
Yeah.
But at the same time, they have him.
So
and
can
therefore
Josh
they're
Allen
a Super
do that?
Bowl roster.
No, I don't know if Josh Allen can. That's certainly what we're going to find out with that overhauled receiving core. But if you look at the Chiefs, I mean, they have, to your point, Taylor, they have the best quarterback. They have the best tight end. Maybe some would argue Kittle. You can go back and forth. But then you have the best defensive tackle in all of the league.
Yeah.
You have 3 guys at their respective positions are the best in all of the NFL. And so I don't know that the Jaguars have anyone that you'd specifically say, that player, that is the best in the NFL. And so that's where I think they can win a Super Bowl. Certainly if they stay healthy and they have a much different end result on defense towards the latter stretch of the year, they can win a Super Bowl, but I'm not going to predict that they're going to.
Because to your point, Lauren, outside of saying that the Miami Dolphins could have the best wide receiver in Tyreek Hill, the Cincinnati Bengals and Jamar Chase could lay claim to that as well, and the Cleveland Browns have the best overall defense. I look at these teams and I don't see anybody who I say they have the best of multiple categories. Of those 8 AFC teams that I just listed off. Is there any of those teams that you say, oh, well, they have the best this, they have the best that? Like
the Browns have the best defensive end or edge rusher?
Best edge rusher.
Yeah.
But that's it. They certainly don't have the best quarterback. And the running back, I mean, we don't know what Nick Chubb's going to look like coming off of a second significant
Chubb
injury.
is towards the top of that conversation.
Yeah, and the Bengals used to have Joe Mixon, and certainly he was really good, but they don't have him anymore. Yeah, I mean, I think the Jaguars are still lacking in certain categories, but that doesn't mean that our conversation a year from now won't be totally different. We may say the Jaguars have the best receiving core in at least the AFC.
Right. So let's recap. Do the Jaguars have the roster right now that could win a Super Bowl? Taylor Dahl.
It's a hard question to answer because this is not me saying I don't think they could. Like, I would not be totally shocked if the Jags ended up in the Super Bowl. But if you're comparing it to what I pick as Super Bowl rosters, I would say no.
Yeah, I would say no. But we've seen other teams. You talked about the Philadelphia Eagles earlier when Nick Foles had to step in for Carson Wentz. Certainly no one predicted that. But we've seen teams go on to win the Super Bowl without Super Bowl rosters. It's just, to me, in this day and age, it's really difficult to get past Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. And so you've got to elevate your roster to be able to take down that team.
I do think it's shifted so much because when you talk about, obviously we just mentioned the 49ers roster in general and the Chiefs roster, but then when you look at the Bengals roster too, what they had offensively between Joe Mixon and Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd, you are listing you're listing their wide receiver group as a top in the league. You're listing the 49ers receiver group as the top of the league, and we're excluding the Chiefs because we know it's like Patrick Mahomes. But when you go through the other teams that have even been to the Super Bowl in recent years, it's the offense that has been so strong that it kind of carries them to a whole different level. And it has changed because we go back and we go to that Ravens team, for example, and it was Joe Flacco, but that defense was so good. We don't have those conversations as much anymore because this is just such a passing league.
I say if you have a roster that's good enough to get into the dance, you have a chance, which the Jaguars do. And while the Chiefs are the big bad wolf in the AFC, maybe the Jaguars have to knock them off. Maybe they don't. Sometimes this is a circumstantial game. Let's say the Texans knock off the Chiefs in the divisional round, and it's Jaguars-Texans in the AFC Championship round. I'm sure many of you are salivating out there in Healigan Nation as I say that. I would pick the Jaguars depending on the situation. I would not be afraid to pick the Jaguars over the Texans head-to-head roster. Yes, with the Chiefs, there's always the asterisk of Patrick Mahomes. That's what makes it difficult. But that's not to say that they can't lose. They lost to Antonio Pierce and Aiden O'Connell on Christmas Day last year. So it's not to say that they're going to go 16-0 or 17-0, excuse me, and therefore the Jags don't have a chance.
Yeah, I just hate that for the longest time it was, well, the Chiefs have never had to do it on the road in the playoffs. And last year
they did. And it's like, who cares?
And so it's like, well, for crying out loud. All right, Taylor has a tangent when we return. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on a Big Chief Tire Monday. Visit them at bigchieftire.com. You are listening to 1010XL 92.5 FM.
It's a Helmets and Heels Big Chief Tire Monday. This hour of Helmets and Heels is brought to you by First Coast Honda dealers. Mike Dempsey.
I'm bigger, stronger, and a lot meaner than you. Plus,
he gives you everything you need to know about your Jacksonville Jaguars.
Welcome to the jungle, tough guy.
10 to noon weekdays on 1010XL.
You don't know what's out there.
Mia here for my friends at Duck Duck Rooter. Folks, it is hot outside, needless to say, and Duck Duck Air Conditioning can help. They are a full-service AC company providing full system replacements and repairs to current systems. Call 904-862-6769 to schedule service right away. But of course, Duck Duck Rooter is oh so much more than that. They are a full-service plumbing and septic company, and they can help with, wait for it, clogged drains, water heater installations and repairs, sewer line replacements, septic tank pump outs, inspections, drain field installations, and more. Duck Duck Rooter is a proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
I'm here with Clayton Bromberg of Underwoods. Clayton, when a customer goes to buy a diamond, how do they know what they are getting?
Frank, that's a good question because what they know comes from the assurances given by the seller, and they can only judge based on the knowledge and reputation of the selling store. Now, over the last 25 years, I've seen some customers misled, and unfortunately, Underwoods was the bearer of bad news too many times. In the 1980s, we saw diamonds brought in with exaggerated grades and no laboratory grading reports. Then in the 90s, we saw some of the poorest cut diamonds ever, even though they had laboratory reports on weight, color, and clarity. Then the American Gem Society opened a laboratory and started sight unseen with a lab report and a bogus appraisal. Unfortunately, not all those diamonds matched the reports they're sold with, but how would a customer know? Probably today more than ever, the truest statement is, if you don't know diamonds, you better know a jeweler you can trust.
Guys, feeling deflated in the bedroom? ED, low T, no energy? If your stuff is broken, call 904-STROKEN or 904stroken.com. No shots in the first treatment, now free. Fix your ED at 904stroken.com.
It's time to fire up your grill, shoot off some fireworks for Chevrolet. Whether you drive a car, a truck, or an EV, everyone is welcome to celebrate our independent sale with the lowest prices, largest inventory, and the most love for our country. Come celebrate with Beaver Toyota in St. Augustine or Beaver Chevrolet in Jacksonville. You don't want to miss this.
Right now, you may be running a little late, or feeling stressed, or overwhelmed, and you may be going a bit over the speed limit. So to help you relax, exhale. Ease up on the gas. You'll get there when you get there. Take a moment to just chill. This little break is brought to you by Target Zero and the Florida Department of Transportation.
A no-risk, all-rewards path to real weight loss. If you're not happy with your Awaken 180 results in the first week, get 100% of your money back. No risk, but every reward. With the solution for weight loss, awaken180weightloss.com.
Daly's Dash is not only your Jaguars game day stop, but a great place to grab a meal any day of the week. To honor the Jags and the fans, we've crafted the Duval Sub. The Duval comes with freshly sliced turkey, ham, melted cheddar, and habanero jack cheese, topped with crisp lettuce, fresh tomatoes, and a double portion of our secret sauce, all served on a fresh roll. Come by your local's Daly's Dash today to get your delicious Duval Sub. Daly's is the official convenience store sponsor of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
He used to cover the Jags. Now he's a CBS Sports senior NFL writer.
Well, I believe you got everybody's attention.
He's Pete Prisco. Friday afternoons on The Frangie Show. Brought to you by Showtime Sports Cards and Collectibles on 1010XL.
This is Hayes Carlyon for Skylife Elite. Have you ever thought about aircraft ownership as another potential revenue stream and as a tool for tax savings? Put your tax money to work for you while enjoying the benefits of private personal travel. Skylife Elite has over a decade of experience in business aviation and can guide you through the process with their expert staff. Call my friends over at Skylife Elite at 490-9332 or find them at flyskylife.com to get the rundown on everything owning an airplane can do for you.
Hey folks, Curtis Dvorak here. Are you a golfer, a pickleball player, or a concert lover? Well, if you said yes to any of those, join me for the first ever Patriot Games on Saturday, September 21st at the Yards in Ponte Vedra. All proceeds benefit Operation New Uniform, which is a transition training program for service members, veterans, and military spouses. For more information, visit onuvets.org. That's onuvets.org. Hope to see you there.
There are three certainties in life: death, taxes, and if you stay in your home long enough, a new roof. Pick it here for our friends at Lockhart Roofing. Nobody better in Jacksonville. How do I know? They are a local certified Master Elite contractor, and that means they have a GAF Master Elite warranty. That's the best in the roofing industry. In this day and age, don't settle for cheaper discount roofers. Lockhart Roofing has been here for decades. They aren't going anywhere. Call my friends at Lockhart Roofing, 994-3851. That's 994-3851. Lockhart Roofing, Jacksonville's best for Jacksonville people.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance engineer, he hears things differently. To the untrained ear, everything on his shop floor might sound fine, but he can hear gears grinding or a belt slipping. So he steps in to fix the problem at hand before it gets out of hand. And he knows Grainger's got the right product he needs to get the job done, which is music to his ears. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
This is Helmets and Heels.
Kept classy by First Coast Lighting and Fans. Upscale lighting, fans, and home decor.
On 1010XL.
Mia O'Brien, Taylor Dahl, RJ Saunders. I'm Lauren Brooks with you on this Big Chief Tire Monday. Of course, we know a lot of people take road trips over the summer, so if your vehicle is not quite road trip ready, visit them at BigChiefTire.com. All right, Taylor Dahl, take it away.
Now, Taylor's Tangent, served up by Chick-fil-A on 1010XL.
All right, CBS Sports has ranked their NFL triplets for this 2024 season as we enter, as we're getting into camp. Pretty much starts this week for the Bears, everybody else next week. But last year, they had the Jaguars at 7. And so we've had this conversation a lot of how the Houston Texans are having the offseason that the Jaguars had last season, and this is another example of that. They've only done the first half right now, so this is the bottom half of their rankings. And like I said, Jags were 7th last year. This year they have them at 16. And this is number one to go along the conversation we just had where I said I don't think it's the Super Bowl roster technically, but it could be if certain aspects surprise people. But also I think it's a conversation of when we are looking and heading into this season where expectations really lie and how important it is for Trevor Lawrence. I think I've said that like 4 times this show already of at the end of the season, I want to have like a definite answer of what we can expect Trevor Lawrence to be. And so this is what they said about the Jaguars. Like I said, they're number 16. So obviously Trevor, Travis Etienne, Christian Kirk are their triplet that they have. Because they did the starting, like number 1 wide receiver, running back, and the quarterback of each of these teams. So the Jags took a step back last year, and they accordingly took a step back in our rankings as people now have muddled expectations a bit for what to expect from this group. Lawrence has an ultra-high ceiling, but we haven't seen him truly access it yet. Are Doug Peterson and Press Taylor the guys to get him there? He has enough talent around him, even if there are no true stars. So a few things out of this. Number 1, I think the true star is kind of where you and I were going, Lauren, when we were talking about that Super Bowl roster. If you go through the last Super Bowls or the guys that are almost like at that cusp of what you would consider a Super Bowl, they all have stars. And whether that's wide receivers or whether that's edge position or whether that's some corner or the running back, whatever it may be, there's usually multiple stars on a team that you're expecting to hit the Super Bowl. And I just don't think the Jags are quite there yet. But I do think that because of the puzzle pieces and what they were able to do this offseason, if certain players exceed expectations, then this is somebody who, instead of talking about the 16th ranked team on this list, you're talking about 7th, 8th, 9th team.
So I wonder if a year from now when they do the triplet rankings, Mia, that it's not Christian Kirk in that 3. If it's Brian Thomas Jr. as the wide receiver.
As the one.
As the true one.
Do they have the Cardinals anywhere in there?
Let's see.
Because what you're telling me is that Zay Jones weighed that much in that trio, or backtrack even further, Calvin Ridley weighs that much in the trio that the Titans are in the top 10. I know they have DeAndre Hopkins as well, and they obviously have Tyler Boyd too.
So the Cardinals are 15. They're right ahead of the Jags in this with Kyler Murray, James Conner, and Marvin Harrison Jr.
Okay.
For theirs, they said Arizona was dead last a year ago because we expected Murray to sit out the majority, if not entirety of the season. He did sit for a while, but he came back and looked pretty good. When he came back, and Arizona's corner-led run game was really good all year. Throw one of the best receiver prospects in recent memory into the mix, and it's no surprise that the Cardinals took a massive leap in rankings.
Okay, and the Titans?
Let's see.
They haven't been listed, which means they're in the top 10.
Correct. They're top 15.
Right, so they're in the top 15.
No, they're 27th.
Yeah, they're 27th.
They're 27th.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're telling me that this team went from 7th a year ago, lost a guy who's in the 27th ranked trio, lost a guy who is slightly above you in the 15th ranked trio, and therefore they dropped
So they went from 25 to 27, the Titans. Last year they were 25th, so they actually have them worse than last year.
Even with the addition of Calvin Ridley.
Will Levis, Tony Pollard, DeAndre Hopkins, Calvin Ridley. So they said Levis's debut was extremely up and down. We'll see what he looks like in a more pass-friendly offense with an upgraded offensive line and pass catchers. Pollard looked terrible early last year coming off his broken leg, but came on down the stretch. The Titans signed Calvin Ridley this offseason, but Hopkins is still the better player. The dude is a marvel. Alas, we can't justify putting the Titans higher without knowing more about Will Levis, which to me makes sense.
Right, that makes sense to me. But you're telling me that the Jaguars dropped.
It's because of Trevor.
It is.
Right.
It's like
That's
they're
what
they're saying because they were 7th last year because everyone was saying that Trevor Lawrence was going to be a top 5 quarterback last year, and he ended up not being at the end of last season. Yes, injuries, offensive line, yada, yada. At the end of the day, he just was not. He turned over the ball too much. You're not going to put somebody who turns the ball over that much in the top 7. It is a big drop. So this one, obviously, it's only the first half, so it only goes to 15. So I can't see the rankings ahead of that. The Texans are going to be the one AFC South team that are going to be in that top because the rest, Jags, Colts, and Titans are all in this
Colts
bottom
are
half.
17.
So Colts 17. They said Richardson flashed enormous talent last year, albeit in only 4 games, but Colts coach Shane Steichen always gets the best out of his quarterbacks, and Richardson's best is likely to be extremely good given his physical gifts. Taylor is one of the best pure runners in the game, and Pittman thrived last year with Minshew under center. There's a lot of upside here.
My thing is just like, if this is a ranking of the triplets, AKA the top 3 wide receivers on every NFL team. Yes, the quarterback obviously plays
No,
a
it's the quarterback, running back, wide receiver 1.
Yeah, it's not all.
Okay, sorry. I interpreted this as the top 3 wide receivers. Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Quarterback, running back, wide receiver 1 for each of the teams.
Okay. All right. That changes that then.
Yeah.
I thought this was the top 3 wide receivers. And I was like, you're going to tell me that this wide receiver core took a step back when the 2 players that they lost are either on comparable ranked teams or a team that is ranked way lower.
Yeah,
So,
they didn't factor in at all.
No.
Okay.
But the reason that the Jags went from 7th to 16th, like Taylor said,
is just because Trevor did not perform up to expectations.
Yeah, and I think Christian Kirk being a wide receiver 1, too, does take a hit, I think, for some because
it's not a sexy enough name.
Yeah, it's
for
not
CBS
it's not a
Sports.
star name. I think Christian Kirk on a lot of rosters would not be their wide receiver 1, so they're looking at it in that aspect.
and he won't be the wide receiver 1 here either, which is why I debate that they
if
even
it will change
used
next
him.
year, yeah.
Yeah, but
well, he is this year.
I mean, I think
he is this year.
I think he's going to be the most targeted, but I don't know that at the end of the season that he will lead the team in touchdowns. And I guess that's where you can.
Well, because he's not the red zone guy either.
This
so
was
I wouldn't
actually one
expect
of our hashtag Ask H&H questions on Friday that we got to, Lauren, which was who will have more receiving yards, Gabe Davis or Brian Thomas Jr.? And I said I believe Brian Thomas Jr. will have more receiving yards than Gabe Davis, albeit Gabe Davis will have more touchdowns. Yep, I have Gabe Davis leading the Jags in touchdowns, but I also believe he will greatly usurp his previous high of 56, I believe it was, receptions his rookie year with the Buffalo Bills or something, 46 or whatever it was.
Yeah, I think it was 45.
46, yeah, because we compared him to Zay Jones. Zay Jones
I don't think
had
he's ever
56
had
with
more
the
than
Bills.
45.
Right,
is
and
what it was.
like we compared him to Zay because Zay had 56 with the Buffalo Bills his rookie year.
Yeah.
And he crushed that number, had 81 in his first year with Trevor and Doug. And so that's where I think Gabe Davis will see a similar jump, not to 81 because you're going to have Brian Thomas Jr. opposite you and Christian Kirk, but I do think you'll see him in the 60s in terms of number of receptions, and I do think he leads the team in touchdowns.
Yeah, I would say the first half of the season, I think Christian Kirk will be the go-to guy for Trevor Lawrence, the most targeted. But then I think that shifts once the 2 of them, Trevor and Brian Thomas Jr., develop that chemistry that they've had, Trevor and Kirk have had. I do think we're going to end up, again, at this time next year, talking about Brian Thomas Jr. is the true number 1 wide receiver. And it's weird here, of course, because you never say wide receiver 1 as a slot guy.
That's what I was about to say.
Yeah, you
well,
just
unless
never
your name
say
is
that.
Cooper Kupp.
And even really last year, was he their best receiver? Probably not.
Well, yeah, when all was said and done, but he also wasn't fully healthy to begin the year, and that's part of what allowed for Puka Nacua to emerge early on. And then Sean McVay, to his credit, was able to manage a system where both players got fed.
Yeah, but see, what annoys me about the CBS Sports article, Taylor, is that when they talk about Colts and Anthony Richardson, oh, he was so good even though he was only healthy for 4 games. Well, Trevor took this massive step back.
Yeah.
He wasn't healthy. Like, that's where if you are going to say he took a step back, I think you also have to say he was injured. If you're going to say that Anthony Richardson,
But they
only
also
played
have
in
them
4
ranked
games.
low.
Behind
the
Anthony
Jags.
Richardson.
Yeah.
And it's not just the quarterback rating, but still, to me, I think you have to at least explain part of the reason Trevor took a step back was he had 5 different injuries.
Yeah.
4 different ones that
Which
could have
that
kept him
will
out
be,
of games.
honestly, just like we talk about it for Joe Burrow. It's only 1 season, but if Trevor has another year where he's banged up, that will then be a conversation of, okay, Trevor, like, yes, he plays, but he's constantly banged up to where he can't practice.
See, I don't know if
If it happens this year is what I'm saying.
I don't know if we'll have that conversation because he was healthy throughout college and the first 2 years in the NFL.
Yeah.
But I know what you're
But still,
saying.
2 years of being constantly hurt, it will be part of a conversation.
Yeah, I just hate when they talk about some quarterbacks like Burrow, like AR, who had the season-ending injuries. They always are quick
they're
to
going
mention.
to bounce back, no issue.
Right, but they always are mentioned that, they got hurt, and then
Yeah.
they move on. And it's like some people don't even mention that Trevor was hurt. That's the part
Well, it's because
that
he
annoys me.
played. If he would have like missed games, it would have been a
Right,
different
which
conversation.
is why you should talk even higher about him.
But
the
they
fact that he
won't
didn't.
because he was there. So they're going to be like, well, your quarterback was on the field. Joe Burrow, like the Bengals didn't even have the opportunity to have their quarterback because he was so hurt.
Yeah. All right, we've got a giveaway.
We do. Lunch for 2, lunch on the ladies today. Lunch for 2 to Chick-fil-A. Let's do caller number 2, 641-1010.
I like it. All right, we've got our poll results when we return. Whole lot more. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on a Big Chief Tire Monday on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
Helmets and Heels. It's a Big Chief Tire Monday. The local Jacksonville shop for fair prices and service you can trust.
Helmets and Heels.
This hour is brought to you by First Coast Honda Dealers.
There's a new one-stop shop for all things Florida State. Subscribe to 1010XL Seminoles YouTube channel, up-to-the-minute updates, analysis, and more. Plant the spear and subscribe to 1010XL Seminoles channel today.
Men, if you're suffering from erectile dysfunction or PE, Prime Men's Medical Center will get your sex life back in just one visit. Their painless, breakthrough medical treatments eliminate ED and PE. Here's a specialist in men's health.
I'm Dr. Simovitz. Have Viagra or Cialis let you down? Prime Men's Medical Center offers the most effective treatments that eliminate ED and PE, with men lasting longer than ever. 98% of patients see instant results on their first visit.
Prime Men's Medical Center's breakthrough treatments will restore your sex life regardless of age or medical history. Your consultation and first treatment are free. Plus, you'll see instant results in the office. Plus, qualified patients will have their testosterone checked free. Call 904-902-8222. 904-902-8222. To regain your sex life in just one visit, call now. 904-902-8222.
By now, we all know the phrase, go big or go home, right? Well, my friends at Arlington Toyota are taking that phrase to heart with the Big One sales event. Yup, it's back, and it's going on now at Arlington Toyota. Mia here, and during the Big One sales event, you're going to save so big you'll be driving home a brand new Toyota in no time. And Arlington has over 400 new Toyotas available. Cars, trucks, SUVs, and family vans. Guess you could say you're going big and going home in style. Plus, with every new purchase at Arlington, you get Arlington's lifetime warranty. That's unlimited time and miles. And Arlington's 60-day exchange program. That's 60 days to love your new purchase or exchange it. So if you're wondering if now's the time to buy, let me put it this way. This is a sale so big it can only go by one name. The Big One sales event. So yeah, I say go big and save big at Arlington Toyota today. But don't wait, a sale this big won't last long. Stop by and shop today, 10939 Atlantic Boulevard, and online at arlingtontoyota.com.
Hello, First Coast. I'm sure by now you have seen our bright green GFL trucks and containers throughout the greater Jacksonville area. We're an industry leader in solid waste and would love the opportunity to earn your business. We're committed to customer service, reliability, and have an unwavering focus on safety. Whether commercial or construction, let us haul your waste away. Call 904-760-5880 to get a quote today from GFL, Green for Life.
David Garrard here. Playing in the NFL can put a lot of wear and tear on your body, especially your knees. Southeast Orthopedic Specialist has kept me mobile and ready to tackle every day.
Southeast Orthopedic Specialist.
David Garrard here. I've had the PRP treatment from Southeast Orthopedic Specialist, and my knees are really doing well. Platelet-rich plasma treatment may be the answer for whatever is hurting you.
Southeast Orthopedic Specialist.
Denny Thompson here. Tackle burglars and protect your turf. Give yourself peace of mind catching everything around your home with Tyson Sound & Security's cutting-edge surveillance cameras. For safety and convenience, Tyson has you covered for all home cameras and security systems. I'm talking HD recording, night vision, and remote alerts, all from your phone or computer. Call Tyson Sound & Security right now at 904-762-1000. Tyson Sound & Security. Security and automation experts.
Save money while beautifying your home with Renewal by Andersen with their energy-efficient, custom-built replacement windows and doors. Their exclusive Fibrex product is chic, tough, easy to maintain, and twice as strong as vinyl. Right now, buy 4 windows or patio doors and get the 5th free, plus 0 down, no payments, and no interest for 18 months. Restrictions apply. Renewal by Andersen, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Visit rbafla.com for details.
License number CGC 1527613.
If you're looking for the best in indoor air quality, I've got the experts to call. Florida Home AC, the official AC provider of the Jaguars, specializing in the best air quality for your home or work with the Remy Halo. Instead of waiting for pollutants to travel through the ductwork to be neutralized, the Halo cell releases friendly oxidizers every time your fan blows air, helping those in your home that suffer from allergies and other respiratory issues. Call 777-4300 for Florida Home AC and start enjoying cool comfort and clean air.
Weekends were made for sports, and I'll tell you my take on this weekend's best options. Pick it here. Watch for Weekend with Dan on YouTube and Facebook. Weekend with Dan is brought to you by Stone Core. We do outdoors better.
You could win your share of over $450,000 in cash and prizes at the 5-star Greater Jacksonville Kingfish Tournament. The fun starts July 13th with the inaugural kickoff beach tournament with a $50,000 cash first prize. There's a junior offshore tournament and one for the lady anglers. Best of all, the general offshore tournament winner takes home a 28T contender with twin 200 Yamahas. Register today at kingfishtournament.com.
Beard's Diamonds' incredible Christmas in July sale is back.
Everything store-wide is on sale up to an unbelievable 40% off.
But it's only happening till July 31st.
Don't shop anywhere until you shop Beard's Diamonds.
At the St. John's Town Center.
Craving a cold one? Well, zip into one of the great gate locations you see all over town and pick up a cold Bud Light, or a Natty, or an Ultra, maybe a 12-pack of the King of Beers, or some cold Coronas. It's all happening at your local gate convenience store. Slide on in today.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Helmets and Heels is switched on by
First Coast Lighting and Fans.
Upscale lighting, fans, and home decor on 1010XL.
Taylor Dahl, Mia O'Brien, RJ Saunders, I'm Lauren Brooks with you. Mia here in studio with us today and Friday, but off to Dallas tomorrow, Wednesday, and Thursday for SEC Media Days. Before we get to a comment that I thought was really interesting from Greg Sankey, Mia, what's the latest with our poll? Who is under more pressure, Carson Beck or Trevor Lawrence?
Yes, we do have that poll posted on X, not only as a graphic so we can get your opinion if you want to type it out, but also as a Twitter poll if you want to press the button and suggest who you believe will be under more pressure in 2024. With almost 160 votes cast, 79.9% of you say Trevor Lawrence will be under more pressure compared to Carson Beck in 2024.
It seems a lot of people's initial, like you said, Lauren, probably a lot more Jags fans also voting on this that are closer to the Jags than to Georgia. But also, I think the contract, and that was a lot of the comments I'm seeing, is just like, he just got paid. So it automatically kind of raises the stakes when you get millions of dollars. So that's a lot of people's mindset. Hundreds of millions of dollars. More than I would get if I struck out a Major League Baseball player.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can look at it like we talked about to start the show. You can look at it in two different ways. The fact that he got paid, yes, that raises the expectations. But the fact that he got paid also means he's secure here as the franchise quarterback and the starting quarterback for 7 years. All right, so Greg Sankey earlier today, commissioner of the SEC, had this quote, "From 14 deep to 16 strong, 16 is our today and our tomorrow," of course, talking about how many teams are in the Southeastern Conference. And I think if you're FSU, you don't love that he said that.
Well, let me take you one step further, Lauren. He was then asked not one, not two, but three follow-up questions about potential expansion, to which Greg Sankey, the commissioner of the SEC, said, quote, "I've responded now 3 times where our focus lies. I am not going to fuel speculation on what happens next. We can stay at 16 for a long, long time and be incredibly successful."
Right. And I think, like we talked about last week, the ACC is pretty much holding FSU's cards for the here and now, unless FSU is able to get out of the grant of rights with the media deal. And so until that happens, Greg Sankey is certainly perfectly fine at 16. It took years for this to happen.
Yeah.
As far as for Texas and Oklahoma joining the league.
As much as it felt like it happened all at once, yes, this was something that the wheels were in motion for a long time.
Years.
And yes, when it did happen, it happened quickly. Our friend Matt Hayes of XL Primetime already boots on the ground in Dallas on assignment for, of course, Saturday Down South. And he proposes an interesting plan to this exact question, Lauren. Should the ACC simply let FSU go, tell Clemson, North Carolina, Miami, and Virginia they will split Florida State's annual media rights through 2036 amongst those 4 larger universities that are reportedly being pursued by the Big Ten, if not others. Then get a buyout from FSU and split that money among those 4 member institutions as well. Everyone else in the ACC, quote, deal with it or don't have a power league. Having been in North Carolina this past weekend, I understand football is king, no matter where you go in the country in 2024. But I also can't get past the thought of Duke, mighty Duke. And I understand in football they're not quite as mighty as they are in the Olympic sports and in basketball. But I can't imagine them just standing idly by and saying, yep, the rival 10 miles up the road, they get to have all the money, but we don't get any share of it. I just don't see that happening.
Yeah, that I agree with you. If those 4 schools might agree to it, but the other 9 at that point in time are going
like,
to
hello.
say, how does this benefit me? Because everyone only cares about what benefits them, their institution, their university. So I don't think any of the other schools would agree to do that.
No, I mean, I agree. In a vacuum, it sounds great because those are the 4 that are threatening to leave. Yeah. Duke's not threatening to leave right now.
Yeah. If I'm the ACC and FSU really wants out and I think I can keep all the other teams intact, I would try to get Notre Dame so hard because you've got, obviously they're an independent, so they don't have a league.
But you have them in your other sports, in your non-revenue sports.
Right. You already have that. But also the fact that that's the biggest brand that's not in a conference, certainly. And they've got the mega TV deal. And obviously there's reasons that Notre Dame doesn't want to join a conference. I get that. With the new college football playoff, though, I wonder if they might change their mind because the independent can't get as high of a seed as the conference champions, and they can't be a conference champion. So you've got that. So that's, if I was the FSU, I wouldn't go the route that Matt tweeted out. I would go the route of, is there any possible way we can get Notre Dame in football?
But also if you're Notre Dame, they're like, no. You're like, if we're going to join a conference, we're joining the Big Ten or we're joining the SEC.
Yeah, the Big Ten's the one that I think they would for. But yeah, I just don't, everybody I've talked to in that world are just like, no way, or at least not in a anytime soon type of thing for Notre Dame. I don't think the expanded playoff changes anything. Honestly, I think it almost goes the opposite way because now there's more chance to get into the college football playoff. Previous to that, it was almost like Notre Dame loses a game, they have no chance because they don't have that conference game. So to me, it was almost less, it hurt them more before when it was smaller than it does now. Now they're like, okay, well, we still have like extra spots to, the conference champions will get in, and then there's still extra spots for us to have a chance to get in there. I just don't see it happening. And when it comes to like their TV deal, the TV deal they do have goes until 2029, so 5 more years on the current one, which is just behind what the Big Ten's the TV deal is for the whole Big Ten. So there's just way too many benefits to stay independent for them.
Yeah, it's just when I think about the conference, the ACC, you don't want to have an odd number of teams.
Oh,
no conference wants that. And so if Florida State was able to get out, but Clemson stayed, then you desperately need another team. All right, we've got the Home Run Derby tonight. What are the latest odds? I'm going to guess that Pete Alonso is the favorite.
You would be correct, Lauren. On my bookie, Polar Bear Pete of course, Florida Gator acclaim, is currently plus 295 to win his 3rd Home Run Derby. Would be the 3rd, right? He's won 2. Yes, 3rd. I want to make sure. Hey, listen, he's won a lot of Home Run Derbies out here. It's hard to keep score. Marcell Ozuna with the 2nd best odds at plus 390, followed by Gunnar Henderson at plus 400, and Bobby Witt Jr. at plus 420. I kind of like those 2 young guys in the plus 400 area. But hey, I mean,
Pete's winning.
I'd be a moron to bet against Pete. Because, I mean, look, you fool me once, shame on you. You fool me twice, fool me 3 times. Yeah, I'm probably going with Pete. What I think is amazing, and unfortunately travel didn't allow for it, is that the Home Run Derby and the All-Star Game are also going on in Fort Worth, Arlington, Dallas, Texas this week alongside SEC Media Days, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah,
and by the way, Caitlin Clark will be in the house on Wednesday too. Not this house, in Dallas.
Caitlin's coming?
She will be in Dallas. We will see about potentially connecting with Caitlin, but no, she will also be in Dallas, the Big D, later this week.
It would be crazy if at one point you had Jack Caglione and Charlie Condon both in the Home Run Derby, just based off of what they did in college. Does it translate to Major League Baseball? That would be an absolute blast. Speaking of a blast.
Could be sooner than later, given the trajectory of Paul Skeens from a year ago.
Yeah, you got that right. All right, RJ, time to cool down.
Now, the cool down from the cool guys at Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing. Fast, reliable, and honest service since '87.
I'm going to say that SEC Media Days is my biggest takeaway from today, and certainly it will continue. You had Brian Kelly meet with media at 11 this morning, Shane Beamer at 12:35. And I read that his opening statement was 17 minutes, Shane Beamer's was. Yeah, he had a lot to say, apparently. Lane Kiffin, and certainly condolences with his family as he lost his father, Monty, over the weekend. He meets with media at 2:50, and then Clark Lee, Vanderbilt fame, at one point saying that Vanderbilt was going to be the best team in the country. He meets with media at 4:20, and then tomorrow morning, Georgia, Kirby Smart, Carson Beck at 10:05 tomorrow morning.
My takeaway is we looked up Reddit's definition of generational. For those of you curious in Merriam-Webster's dictionary, here is their definition of the word generational. There are several. A group of individuals born and living contemporaneously. Oh, that's generation. Just kidding. Here we go. A body of living beings constituting a single step in the line of a descent from an ancestor. A group of individuals having contemporaneously a status such as that of students in a school, with each one holds only for a limited period. The action of producing the action or process of producing offspring. None of these are actually answering the question.
No, that's why I had to go to Reddit because generational, the actual word is talking about like descendants and families.
It makes my point,
like
though,
that.
Lauren. No one knows the definition of generational, so stop arguing about it. No one knows. Everyone has a different definition of it.
My takeaway is something we actually didn't discuss on the show today, but something that is all my Twitter is right now is the EA college football game. I think you'd enjoy this one, Lauren, because Javon Dexter just tweeted, "Finna beat the F out of UGA and FSU right now."
Because, of course, another former Florida Gator. Yeah, I know that the video game world is beyond excited for that game to drop. It's at 5 o'clock today.
Yeah, is it? I have no idea. Honestly, I just
4
some of them
o'clock.
obviously got it earlier, or some of them got like samples because I saw certain players talking about how they were already. Did you see Shador Sanders' comment? By the way,
I did not.
He because he was playing, and I guess he was doing like a live stream of the game, and he was playing as Colorado. Colorado's offensive line, I guess, was like terrible, and somebody in the live stream asked him, and he pretty much called out the whole offensive line and was like, "Well, yep, this is what it is. They're trash, pretty much." Like, he just called out his own team's offensive line.
I guess so. Some people are able to play at 4 p.m. today, but other people have to wait until Friday when it's released at
if you
midnight.
pre-registered, if you pre-registered for the gamer tag, I believe that's how.
I don't play video games, but it's like kind of entertaining to watch all of these people and how invested they are in this game right now.
Absolutely. All right, that's going to do it for us today. Of course, don't go anywhere. XL Primetime is coming up next. For Mia O'Brien, for Taylor Dahl, for RJ Saunders, I'm Lauren Brooks. We will talk to Mia in Dallas tomorrow at SEC Media Days. So that will be a lot of fun. But that's going to wrap up our show. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on 1010XL 92.5 FM. These heels are made for talk, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.
Yeah.